Chapter 1806. You can't kill me. If you kill me, the All Beginnings Holy Land will absolutely not let you off. Lin Xian shook his head. This reason won't do. Even if I don't kill you, the All Beginnings Holy Land will still find trouble with me. At this point, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and continued, I can point you in the right direction. Why don't you become my maid and serve me? Perhaps I can spare your life if you do so. Lu Mingyue became even more nervous. Her palms even started to sweat. She knew what it meant to be a maid. It was different from serving tea and water. If she became a maid, not only would she have to serve tea and water, but she might even become a cultivation furnace for the other party. If that happened, she would be consigned to eternal damnation. Thus, she clenched her teeth and said, Don't even think about it. My husband must be an indomitable spirit that stands above all. Right now, you don't have the qualifications. Lu Mingyue said that her current situation was very dangerous. However, she also had her own pride. Among the younger generation, she was an incomparably dazzling existence. In her heart, her idols were those indomitable young heavenly prides who had the qualifications to become great emperors. In her opinion, although Lin Xian was powerful, he still didn't have the qualifications to do so. Haha, your ambitions aren't small. Lin Xian smiled, not caring at all. However, I am very curious. What conditions can you offer me to let you off? Lu Mingyue's eyes flickered as if she was making a final struggle. But at this time, the void suddenly shook. Then, an extremely powerful explosion came from outside. Although the black earth wasn't damaged, Lin Xian could clearly sense the situation outside. Have we been discovered? Lin Xian frowned. This shouldn't be the case. He had arranged many array formations outside. Even an almighty being shouldn't be able to discover them. But now, someone was actually bombarding the cave. This left him flabbergasted. Could it be that someone accidentally got caught up in a battle? Lin Xian guessed. Soon, however, 2 more attacks landed on the black earth, causing the ship to shake violently. Someone really did discover us. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian's face sank. He realized that the other party's target was clearly the black earth. In the next moment, he snorted coldly. His figure flashed, and he appeared in the outside world. Then, he saw that the entire mountain range had been blasted open, revealing more than half of the cracks. There were dozens of figures in front of him, completely surrounding this place. There was indeed someone. Lin Xian frowned. He walked out and asked in a deep voice, Who are you? Why did you destroy my cave? You're disturbing my cultivation? You're that Lin Xian? At this moment, a young man walked out from the front with a scroll in his hand. After comparing the two, he asked coldly, That's right, it's me. Lin Xian replied in a deep voice, If it's you, then it's easy. The young man sneered. Then, he waved his hand. Shout out to the surrounding people. Take him down. Yes. When the kings heard this order, they all drew their swords and sabers. Terrifying auras surged from their bodies as they locked onto Lin Xian. Who are you? You actually dared to attack me? Lin Xian frowned. He didn't expect that the other party would come looking for trouble with him. Moreover, from the looks of it, they didn't seem to be people from the Wavering Light Holy Land. You dared to kill a disciple of my All Beginnings Holy Land? You're truly audacious. Today, I'll capture you and bring you back to the sect. The young man coldly snorted, his expression ice-cold. All Beginnings Holy Land? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He was just talking about the All Beginnings Holy Land a moment ago. He didn't expect that the other party would come knocking on his door. Then, the corners of his lips curled up. Your future saintess is still in my hands. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill her if you act rashly? Future saintess? The young man sneered. What future saintess? She was captured by you and became a prisoner. She has already lost the qualifications to become a saintess. If you want to kill her, then kill her. Even if you don't do anything, we will still kill her. Lin Xian frowned when he heard this heartless voice. Then, he waved his hand and summoned Lu Mingyue from the black earth. Did you hear what I said? Lin Xian asked indifferently. Lu Mingyue didn't reply. However, her complexion was exceptionally gloomy. It was clear that she had heard everything. She stared at the young man and coldly asked, "What did you say? Say it again." "Haha, you slut. You really came out. I didn't expect you to still be alive." The young man sneered. "What did I say? Are you deaf? I'm here on the orders of the branch Holy Land to capture you and this brat. I'll kill you both." "Nonsense." Lu Mingyue coldly snorted. "I am the future all-beginning saintess. How could the sect kill me? How is that possible?" The young man sneered. "You no longer have the qualifications to become a saintess. The only one who can become a saintess is my elder sister." It was clear that the All-Beginnings Holy Land was the same as the other Holy Lands. Behind every official saintess were some reserve saintesses. Lu Mingyue was also one of the reserve saintesses. The elder sister of the young man should also be a reserve saintess. Originally, Lu Mingyue had the qualifications to become a true saintess, but now it seemed that she had been abandoned by the sect. As for the other party's elder sister, it was very likely that she would become a true saintess. Lu Mingyue naturally thought of this. Thus, her complexion turned ice-cold. Her body even trembled in anger. She hadn't expected that the sect would abandon her and let another disciple become the all-beginning saintess. Not only that, but what made her feel even more despair was that the sect actually wanted to kill her. Why? I don't understand. Lu Mingyue clenched her jade-like hands so tightly that her fingernails dug into her palms. It was clear that she couldn't accept this news. I, Lu Mingyue, entered the All-Beginnings Holy Land when I was 3 years old. I've been in the All-Beginnings Holy Land all these years. I've already treated it as my home. But now, the sect actually wants to kill me? Why is that? Lu Mingyue finally roared in anger. Why? You are truly naive. A holy land wouldn't find someone with questionable chastity to become a saintess. Not to mention, you're already someone else's prisoner. Who knows what happened between the two of you? The young man looked down at Lu Mingyue. His eyes were filled with ridicule. If you want to blame someone, then blame yourself. Serves you right. Who allowed you to enter the oblique moon mystic world for no reason? Moreover, if you're not strong enough, don't try to show off. Otherwise, you'll become someone else's prisoner. If I were you, I would have committed suicide long ago. I'll kill you. Lu Mingyue screamed in anger. Then, she thrust her jade-like hands forward and grabbed at the young man. Seeing this scene, the young man jumped in fright and hurriedly dodged. However, when he saw that Lu Mingyue was only putting on an act and didn't release any terrifying power from her body, he immediately threw his head back and roared with laughter. Ahahaha, I'm dying of laughter. You want to kill me with just you alone? Don't forget that you're now a prisoner. The young man's eyes were filled with savagery. Save your strength. I advise you to obediently allow yourself to be captured. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 1807. The youth's eyes were filled with savagery. Save your strength. I advise you to obediently allow yourself to be captured. Otherwise, don't blame me for being vicious and merciless. After I kill this brat, I'll have a good taste of your beauty. It would be a pity if such a beautiful girl were to be killed like this. Don't worry, I'll definitely let you taste the taste of pain before you die. Damn it, I can't accept this. Lu Mingyue gnashed her teeth in anger. She wanted to rush over but was stopped by a palm. Let go of me. Lu Mingyue turned her head and glared at Lin Xian with her beautiful eyes. It was all because of this brat that she had fallen into such a desperate situation. However, Lin Xian tightened his grip on her shoulder. Then, a surge of energy surged into her body. Lu Mingyue immediately closed her eyes and fainted. In the next instant, she was sent to the Black Earth by Lin Xian. He hadn't expected that the All-Beginnings Holy Land would kill Lu Mingyue as well. However, he didn't want to kill her right now. Thus, he sent her to a safe place. He alone was enough to deal with the people around him. In the next instant, he clasped his hands behind his back and looked around. Then, he asked indifferently, Are you going to kill yourselves in front of me? Or do you want me to do it myself? I advise you to choose the first option. Otherwise, if I do it myself, your end will be very miserable. Sanction? Brat, I think water must have entered your head. You actually dare to speak such big words in front of me? Do you know how many people I brought with me this time? How strong are they? You're just a small, loose cultivator. Do you think you have the ability to resist? Even if you can defeat Lu Mingyue, the people I brought with me are enough to suppress someone like you. Go. Kill him for me. The youth sneered and waved his hand. Brat, let me deal with you. I want to see what kind of ability you have to actually dare to speak such arrogant words. This was a middle-aged man. His cultivation had reached the level of a 6-star king. His strength was incomparably powerful. When he heard the word sanction, this middle-aged man was naturally furious. Therefore, at this moment, when the young man gave the order, he immediately stood up and wanted to take care of Lin Xian by himself. From his point of view, even though Lin Xian had captured Lu Mingyue, he must have used despicable means to do so. It was definitely not a direct confrontation. One had to know that he had sensed Lin Xian's cultivation base, and he was only a late-stage 4-star king. This kind of cultivation was simply too weak. He didn't believe that this young man could contend against a 6-star king. After all, there was a difference of 2 levels between them. These 2 levels could be said to be the difference between heaven and earth. It was like a dragon against an ant. Therefore, at this moment, he stood out very confidently and completely disregarded Lin Xian. You. Lin Xian coldly snorted and revealed a look of disdain. I advise you to attack together. Otherwise, you won't even have the chance to attack. How dare you? Brat, you're too arrogant. The middle-aged man who stood out immediately flew into a rage when he heard this. The other party actually dared to look down on him. This was truly unforgivable. In the next moment, he roared, raised his finger, and pressed forward. Boom, boom, boom. His body shone brightly, and endless power gathered on his finger. A terrifying chaotic light quickly surged out. This was the chaotic light. Lin Xian had seen it more than once. Now that it was being used by a 6-star king, it was extremely terrifying. The chaotic light was like lightning, erupting with resplendent light. The tyrannical power directly tore through the void. With intense killing intent, it ruthlessly blasted toward Lin Xian. The middle-aged man had a smug smile on his face. He was very confident in his chaotic light. One had to know that he was a 6-star king, and the other party was only a 4-star king. The difference between the two of them was like heaven and earth. In his opinion, with just one chaotic light, he could even kill the other party. The main reason they had come this time was to kill Lu Mingyue. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent so many experts to deal with a 4-star king. Humph! Facing the extremely resplendent chaotic light, Lin Xian sneered. In the next moment, he punched out. The terrifying fist carried violent power, and it was like a black mountain moving rapidly in the air. Boom! The black fist ruthlessly blasted on the chaotic light, directly shattering that resplendent light. The middle-aged man was stunned. He didn't expect this outcome. The others were also stunned. They didn't expect the other party to be able to destroy the chaotic light so easily. Buzz! Lin Xian didn't stop after shattering the chaotic light with a punch. He took a step forward and instantly arrived in front of the middle-aged man. Then, he stretched out a finger and pointed forward. Oh no! Seeing Lin Xian attack, the middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. Although Lin Xian only stretched out a finger, the terrifying sword chi on it made his hair stand on end. Even the blood in his body froze. Puff! When the finger landed on the middle-aged man coughed up a mouthful of blood and flew backward. A transparent bloody hole appeared on his body. Everyone was stunned. Their eyes were wide open, unable to believe what they were seeing. A 4-star king had easily injured a 6-star king. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it even if they were beaten to death. Damn it! How can this brat have such a powerful strength? We underestimated this kid. Could it be that he caught Lu Mingyue head-on? Thinking of this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. A look of shock appeared in their eyes. They were indeed careless. They didn't care about the other party at all. This time, they came prepared to deal with Lu Mingyue with all their strength. However, it seemed that the situation wasn't like that at all. The other party's strength was definitely not inferior to Lu Mingyue's. At least, None of them could defeat the middle-aged man so easily. The middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. He clutched his wound as if he had seen a ghost. He was extremely frightened. However, he didn't have time to think because Lin Xian appeared in front of him again. He raised his arm, and a resplendent sword light streaked across the void. Boom! The middle-aged man flew backward again, and the injuries on his body were even more serious. That sword light almost split his body into two halves. The middle-aged man was hit twice and roared crazily. His entire body emitted light, and he quickly absorbed the surrounding spirit qi to heal the wounds on his body. At the same time, he took out 6 pills from his storage ring and quickly swallowed them. Finally, the wounds stopped, but his face was abnormally pale. "How dare you hurt me? I'll definitely kill you." The 6-star king roared crazily. When had he suffered such a loss at the hands of a 4-star king? Therefore, he was really angry. In the next moment, light erupted from his body, and a huge king's domain covered the sky and enveloped Lin Xian. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The 6-star king also appeared in the domain. Chapter 1808. Standing in the air, he looked down at Lin Xian and coldly said, "In my king domain, I will make you wish you were dead." He had already decided that he wouldn't let Lin Xian die so easily. However, Lin Xian coldly snorted and used the world-destroying Black Dragon Fist. His terrifying fist transformed into a raging dragon that soared into the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Instantly, millions of raging black dragons flew out from Lin Xian's fist and rapidly crashed into the king domain. Ka, ka, ka. In an instant, countless cracks appeared on the king domain. Then, the king domain was forcefully torn apart by the millions of raging dragons. How is this possible? Everyone didn't dare to believe what they saw. As for the middle-aged man, it was as if he had been struck by lightning. His body was sent flying once more. The radiance on his body dimmed. Shocking. This was simply too shocking. He hadn't expected that his ultimate move, the king domain, would be blasted apart by his opponent. This was something he had never encountered in his life. Who would have thought that a 4-star king would possess such a powerful battle prowess? Even a 6-star king wouldn't be able to easily blast apart his king domain. However, Lin Xian had done so easily. "It's over." Lin Xian coldly snorted and extended his finger. A sharp sword light descended from the sky and directly pierced through the 6-star king. Lin Xian had used a total of 4 moves to kill a 6-star king. This method was truly heaven-defying. When the surrounding All Beginnings Holy Lands cultivators saw this scene, they were extremely shocked. As for the youth from before, his expression turned gloomy. He discovered that his opponent was simply too powerful. This caused him to feel extremely uneasy. Therefore, he decided that he had to quickly kill Lin Xian. "Go! Kill him for me!" The youth crazily roared. Immediately, over a dozen figures in the surroundings moved rapidly and launched terrifying attacks at Lin Xian. "Brat, you're too arrogant. You actually dare to kill an expert of my All Beginnings Holy Land in front of everyone? So what if you're strong? In front of so many of us, you have no way to survive. Kneel down and accept your death. If you do, I can give you a quick death. Otherwise, I'll let you have a taste of what it means to wish you were dead." 5 figures were the first to arrive. Their expressions were cold, and their bodies were filled with immense power and terrifying killing intent. Facing the 5 powerful people, Lin Xian did not say anything. He pulled out the 9-nether devil sword and stabbed out. This sword strike was simple and unadorned. It didn't even have any resplendent light or the sound of thunder. It was like an ordinary sword, slowly thrusting out. However, it was this ordinary sword technique that caused the expressions of the surrounding kings to change. This was because they sensed a hidden danger from this simple and unadorned sword light. It made their hearts jump and their hairs stand on end. They knew that this sword strike was much more terrifying than they had imagined. The 5 of them roared as a powerful energy erupted from their bodies. They wanted to join forces and kill Lin Xian. However, they still underestimated this sword. This was because this was a sword technique that Lin Xian had comprehended over the past 6 months. Puff. One sword. Just one stab. Heaven and earth changed color, and blood sprayed everywhere. 5 miserable cries sounded, making the remaining King Tyr's scalps go numb. The figures of the 5 kings stopped in the void and then crashed to the ground. There was a bloody hole in between their eyebrows. It was pierced through by a sword. Not only their bodies, but even their souls had been wiped out in an instant. This scene caused the hearts of the remaining kings to turn cold. What kind of sword technique was this? How could it kill 5 powerful kings in an instant? It was too terrifying. The arrogant young man also began to tremble. He had long lost his previous arrogance, and his eyes were filled with fear. This was because he had never seen such a terrifying sword technique. How did he do it? Damn it, all of you. Kill him together. The young man roared crazily as he kept retreating and issuing orders. Kill. The remaining 8 emperors exchanged glances with one another before roaring furiously. Terrifying auras surged over like smoke signals, bringing with them terrifying light that illuminated the entire sky. This time, they had received orders from their sects to kill the other party. Therefore, no matter how powerful the other party was, they had to attack. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying energy exploded in an instant. Lin Xian waved his arm, and a green domain quickly appeared behind him, enveloping the 8 kings. Buzz. Sword chi swept across the sky, and it was extremely sharp. The terrifying sword chi was like lightning, quickly streaking across the sky. Intense collisions sounded, and then quickly disappeared. This process lasted for a very short time. Before the arrogant young man could react, Lin Xian had already removed the dragon sword domain. Then, the 8 kings' bodies fell from the sky. Their bodies were penetrated by countless sword chi, and they were no longer breathing. In the face of the dragon sword domain, they had no power to resist at all. Impossible. This is impossible. The arrogant young man's eyes widened in disbelief. The kings he had brought were all extremely terrifying. They were the elites of their sections. Every one of them could make the entire space tremble. But now, these people attacked together, and they couldn't even take down a 4-star king? This was simply too unbelievable. Not only that, so many elites were killed in an instant. He couldn't believe it at all. Now, it's your turn. Lin Xian held the 9 darkness demonic sword in his hand. He looked like a killing god as his cold eyes locked onto the young man. Brat, if you dare to touch me, you're dead. My sister is already the saint of all beginnings. The young man gnashed his teeth. He didn't dare to attack at all, afraid that the other party would kill him instantly. Therefore, he could only use his sister to intimidate the other party. The Saint of All Beginnings was a peak existence among the younger generation of the Eastern Wilderness. Moreover, she might become the master of the All Beginnings Holy Land in the future. Therefore, even the older generation and Almighties had to be polite when facing the Saint of All Beginnings. This was because she was the future master of the All Beginnings Holy Land. However, such a glorious identity was ineffective in front of Lin Xian. So what if she's the Saint of All Beginnings? Even if you're the Saint of All Beginnings' younger brother, I'll still kill you. Lin Xian didn't even bat an eye at the threat. He had even killed Almighties before, let alone the younger brother of a saint. My sister is in a nearby city. If you dare to touch her, you're dead. The young man made a final struggle. She's nearby? Hearing this, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. He originally wanted to kill the other party, but now he changed his mind. Since the other party was nearby, he had to kill them all in one fell swoop. This was to prevent those people from gathering more experts. Therefore, in the next moment, Lin Xian put away his demonic sword and coldly looked at the other party. Seeing the other party suddenly stop and put away his demonic sword, the young man was stunned. Then, he laughed proudly. Chapter 1809. In the next instant, Lin Xian put away his demonic sword and coldly looked at the youth. Seeing Lin Xian suddenly stop and put away his demonic sword, the youth was stunned for a moment. Then, he laughed complacently. How is it, kid? Are you afraid now? If you know what's good for you, then quickly release me. Otherwise, you're dead. Obediently kneel on the ground and kowtow to me. Then, Hand over Lu Mingyue, and I can consider giving you a quick death. Otherwise, before the youth could finish his words, Lin Xian slapped him and sent him flying. Asterisk pa. Asterisk the youth's body spun 360 times in the air before heavily crashing into the ground, creating a large crater. What an idiot. A trash like you dares to be arrogant in front of me? Watch your mouth. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Lin Xian coldly snorted. Asterisk woo woo. Asterisk the youth covered his face and quickly nodded. He no longer dared to say anything because this slap had smashed half of his face into mush. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. The youth felt Lin Xian's gaze and hurriedly shook his head. If I don't kill you, you can take me with you. I'm going to find your sister and the others. Lin Xian's voice was ice cold. Then, he grabbed the arrogant youth and quickly flew toward the nearby city. Blue Pole City, a Tao field of the All Beginnings Holy Land. It occupied a vast area, as big as a city. Moreover, the buildings inside were majestic and the scenery was pleasant. Spiritual energy filled the air, making it seem like a paradise on earth. The All Beginnings Holy Daughter was here with a large number of experts from the All Beginnings Holy Land. In front of the huge city gate, some guards were chatting and laughing. These guards wore battle armor and held spears in their hands. Their auras were extremely sharp. Little young master has been out for so long. He should be back soon, right? Looking at the time, he should have caught that kid surnamed Lin. Little young master brought so many experts with him. Let alone that kid surnamed Lin. Even a small sect would be destroyed. That kid surnamed Lin is too arrogant. He actually dared to provoke our All Beginnings Holy Land. It seems he doesn't know the difference between life and death. The guards sneered. Asterisk Pong. Asterisk, however, at this moment, a black shadow descended from the sky and smashed onto the ground. Suddenly, dust flew into the air, and the ground trembled slightly. The conversation of the guards was interrupted, and they all looked in front of them, bewildered. Who dares to behave atrociously in the All Beginnings Holy Land? Hurry up and come out. These people held swords and sabers as they shouted coldly. The dust dispersed, revealing the face of a young man. Immediately, the faces of the guards changed. Young master. They were extremely shocked because they didn't expect that the figure in front of them was actually the young master they were talking about. That was the younger brother of their saintess. Didn't they go to kill Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue? Why are they back so soon? And what about the others? Why is the young master in such a sorry state, falling directly to the ground? These people were extremely puzzled. However, in the next moment, their eyes widened as if they had seen a ghost. That was because another figure had descended from the sky. It was a young man who was extremely handsome. He wore a green robe and looked like an immortal. He had an ethereal aura about him. He quickly landed on the ground and stepped on the young master's head with one foot. Damn it! Who are you? How dare you injure the young master? Impudent! Hurry up and get lost. Angry roars rang out one after another. However, when they saw the other party, they were all stunned. It's you? You're that Lin Xian. You're not dead? How is this possible? Heavens, how could this be? Didn't the young master bring a dozen experts to chase after them? Why is the other party still alive? And the young master is seriously injured? To be honest, they were really confused. They didn't know what had happened. On the ground in front of them, the young master said with difficulty, "Inform my sister and save me." Yes. Hearing this, two of the guards turned around and left. They turned into two bolts of lightning and flew inside. They wanted to inform the saintess of all beginnings, because the situation in front of them was too strange. Puff, puff. However, in the next moment, their bodies stiffened and they fell to the ground with a plop. Blood flowed out from between their eyebrows. Lin Xian slowly lowered his arm and said coldly, "You want to inform the saintess? No need to go through so much trouble. I'll directly kill my way in." You. When the remaining guards saw this scene, their scalps went numb. This was too strong. He killed two guards with a raise of his hand. Did he not know that this was the All Beginnings training ground? Was he not afraid of the All Beginnings Holy Land's revenge? Seeing this scene, The young master on the ground roared crazily, "Are you all trash? Hurry up and kill him." Hearing this voice, the guards came back to their senses. They pulled out their swords and pointed them at Lin Xian. Lin Xian frowned and said coldly, "If you don't want to die, scram. Brat, you're too arrogant. This is the All Beginnings training ground. You can't behave atrociously here." The guards were obviously powerful kings as well. In the next moment, they quickly unleashed their king's domains and enveloped Lin Xian. Wong, Wong, Wong. In an instant, 5 or 6 king domains enveloped Lin Xian. Terrifying energy blasted out in all directions. Ha ha ha, what Lin Xian? What genius! Surrounded by so many king domains, he can't resist at all. That's right. He's really an idiot. He wants to fight against all of us alone? Too naive. From now on, Lin Xian's name is history. These people sneered and strode forward, wanting to save the young master. Pong! Suddenly, a sharp sword light flashed in the void. Then, all the king domains were quickly torn apart. Pong! 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 The guards' bodies instantly exploded, turning into a bloody mist. No! Damn it! How can this be? When the young master saw this scene, he roared crazily. However, in the next moment, his voice stopped. This was because a sword chi had pierced through him and nailed him to the ground. Young master! From the door in front of him, a flash of light quickly flew over. It was like a gust of wind, carrying a huge amount of energy. Brat, how dare you? In the gust of wind, an angry roar sounded. It was like thunder that resounded in all directions. Then, a large green palm stretched out from the gust of wind and ruthlessly slapped toward Lin Xian. Chi. Lin Xian's expression was indifferent as he stabbed out with his sword. Pooh! In the next instant, the large green palm disappeared. The light that filled the sky also dissipated. A figure was nailed in the air by the demonic sword. What? How is this possible? When the kings who had rushed over saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. In front of them, Lin Xian stood there like a killing god. He held the demonic sword in his hand and pierced through the All Beginnings Holy Land's expert. That was a 6-star king. Just like that, he was nailed in the air. This scene caused the surrounding people to not dare to believe their eyes. At this moment, they were all stunned. They didn't dare to make a move. Lin Xian's expression was ice cold. He held the demonic sword in his hand and carried that 6-star king as he walked forward. Chapter 18:10. Pong, 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 pong. His footsteps were like thunder, carrying the weight of a mountain that pressed down on everyone's hearts. With every step he took, everyone's hearts would beat wildly, and their bodies would tremble as though they were about to explode. Whoosh! The cultivators who had rushed over to help forcibly opened up a path in front of Lin Xian. No one dared to block him. At this moment, the city gate was completely silent. An invisible pressure enveloped everyone's head. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly. His long sword trembled, releasing a black sword chi that nailed the 6-star king to the city wall. Then, he strode into the city. What happened here quickly alerted the experts in the city. Many figures rushed over from the city like gods and demons. Who is it? How dare you behave so atrociously in my all-beginning training ground? Quickly kneel down and accept your death. Cold shouts resounded. Then, in the huge square, terrifying fists, saber lights, and terrifying palm shadows all blasted toward Lin Xian. Facing such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian still stabbed out with his sword. The black, demonic sword was like a mountain, causing the entire void to distort. Not only that, but a terrifying gust of wind blew between heaven and earth. Every gust of wind was formed by the sword light and was extremely sharp. Pong, pong, pong. In an instant, the terrifying attacks that filled the sky were all slashed apart by the sword. The 4 figures in the sky were shaken out of their positions. Their faces were filled with shock as though they had seen a ghost. They didn't dare to believe that someone could slash apart all their attacks with a single sword. Unless the other party was an almighty. However, the youth in front of them didn't have the aura of an almighty. In other words, The other party wasn't an almighty. But how did he do it? Lin Xian didn't answer their questions. Instead, he strode forward. The demonic sword in his hand transformed into a long black dragon. Sword chi danced, and a terrifying sword light surged out again like a black sea that swept out in all directions. Boom! The sword light was too terrifying, causing the entire space to dim. Not only that, the four figures were instantly sliced apart, as though they had been struck by lightning. The four experts didn't even have the chance to resist in front of Lin Xian. The kings who had just arrived felt their scalps go numb upon seeing this. Fortunately, they didn't make a move earlier. Otherwise, they would have ended up the same as now. However, they were even more terrified in their hearts. Is he really just a puny four-star king? Why is his combat strength almost on par with that of a mighty figure? However, this was the all-beginning Dao grounds after all. There were countless experts here, so more experts quickly rushed over. Wang. This time, an old figure descended. The old man's face was flushed red, and his figure was tall. Although he was old, the aura he exuded was as vast as the ocean. He was much more powerful than the previous kings. Clearly, this was a terrifying expert. Behind this old man, there were many powerful kings of 10,000 beginnings. They quickly descended like gods and devils, suppressing the surroundings. The purple-robed elder's eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Then, his face darkened. Finally, he glared at Lin Xian, his eyes burning with rage. "Brat, who are you? How dare you do such a thing? Are you not afraid of the revenge of my all-beginning holy land?" "Who am I?" Lin Xian sneered. "You sent people to kill me, but you don't even know who I am? Impossible." The purple-robed elder shook his head, his expression ice-cold. "You can't be that brat. He's just a puny four-star king. It's impossible for him to have such powerful combat strength. Who are you? Why are you making an enemy out of the all-beginning holy land?" "What an idiot." Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. "I am Lin Xian. Today, I'm here to take your dog lives." After saying that, the sword light on Lin Xian's body became even more dazzling. "You're courting death. No matter who you are, since you dare to provoke my all-beginning holy land, you won't have a good ending." The purple-robed elder's expression was incomparably gloomy. Purple flames danced on his body, and his terrifying aura caused everyone in the surroundings to tremble. It was clear that he was angry. Although the surrounding kings were trembling, they were excited. After all, they knew how strong the purple-robed elder was. As long as he made a move, he would definitely be able to kill this despicable brat. Sure enough, the purple-robed elder waved his hand. Countless rays of light condensed in front of him, forming a simple and unadorned circular mirror. Mysterious runes flickered on the surface of the mirror. Buzz! A resplendent ray of light rushed out from the surface of the mirror. Like a bolt of lightning, it pierced through the void and flew toward Lin Xian at high speed. This was a powerful martial technique that could easily kill a six-star king. Very few people below the realm of supreme existences could contend against it. The purple-robed elder was truly infuriated by the person in front of him. Therefore, he immediately used his ultimate move to kill the brat in front of him. Humph! Lin Xian held his sword and took a step forward. His left hand was like a dragon as he punched out. Light soared into the sky, and a berserk aura surged like the sea. Pong! This punch directly shattered that resplendent ray of light. Boom! Not only that, but the terrifying fist wind formed a powerful energy that surged forward. Immediately, the unadorned circular mirror filled with runes was also affected. The purple-robed elder's expression changed. Although the other party had only punched once, he could clearly feel the terrifying power of the other party's punch. One punch had dealt with his divine ability. He had to admit that this was absolutely beyond his imagination. "You're courting death. Brat, you're too presumptuous." The purple-robed elder flew into a rage. The other party was still so arrogant in their territory. If this news spread, he would definitely be ridiculed by the world. Therefore, he had to use all his strength to kill the other party. Buzz! The void trembled. The purple-robed elder waved his hand, and a long purple saber appeared in the void. It flickered with incomparably resplendent rays of light and slashed forward. Puff! The purple saber light was like a bolt of purple lightning, illuminating the entire sky. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly. He was not afraid at all as he raised his sword to meet the attack. His goal was obvious. He wanted to destroy the All Beginnings training ground and capture the Saint of All Beginnings. Buzz! A terrifying sword light soared into the sky with an incomparably sharp aura. Since obtaining the Dragon Sword secret technique, Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul had become even more powerful. Now, every ray of sword chi was like a giant dragon. It was abnormally terrifying. Boom! The saber and sword collided, and an earth-shattering sound reverberated in all directions. Crack! 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 Countless cracks appeared in the void, unable to withstand this power. Not only that, the incomparably frightening purple blade light exploded like a crystal in an instant. Lin Xian waved his arm, which was like a dragon, and quickly stabbed out. Damn it! The purple-robed elder's expression turned ugly. But in the next moment, a tyrannical power erupted from his body again. The purple saber in his hand was like a purple sun as it quickly swung out. This time, the saber light was even larger. It connected the heavens and the earth and triggered a vision of heaven and earth. Moreover, this purple saber light was filled with countless chaotic chi. Chapter 1811. It was as heavy as a mountain, seemingly capable of collapsing the entire space. This is the primal chaos saber technique. When the surrounding cultivators saw this, they were wild with joy. They knew that this was the All Beginnings Holy Land's ability. Now that the purple-clothed old man had used it, it was incomparably terrifying. Very few six-star kings would be able to resist it. Presumably, that brat Lin Xian wouldn't be able to resist it either. One sword breaking all techniques. Facing the powerful purple-clothed old man, Lin Xian's performance was even stronger. He didn't try to dodge at all. Instead, he directly slashed out with his sword, forcibly resisting the purple saber light that filled the sky. Boom, boom, boom. A huge explosion occurred in the sky, and terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The black sword light slashed down from the sky, shattering everything in its path. Those terrifying purple saber lights were mercilessly torn apart like paper. Not only that, but the purple saber was also cleaved in half. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They didn't dare to believe their eyes. The purple-clothed old man was even more shocked. Not only had his attack been destroyed, but his entire body had also been enveloped by a sharp sword light. No! The purple-clothed old man roared crazily. 18 simple shields rushed out of his body and rapidly revolved around him, trying to resist. Ka, ka, ka. In the next instant, the 18 simple purple shields exploded. As for the purple-clothed old man, he was also cleaved in half by the sword light. He was killed again. Seeing this scene, the surrounding cultivators all went crazy. What kind of person was this? This was too crazy. Could this person really be a 4-star king? They didn't dare to imagine this. They even suspected that this youth in front of them was an almighty in disguise. His goal was to heavily injure their All Beginnings Holy Land. Damn it! This brat is too arrogant. Everyone, attack together. Kill him. The kings that had followed the purple-clothed old man earlier all roared furiously. They couldn't accept this result. Thus, they decided to attack together. As for Lin Xian, his black hair fluttered in the wind. He looked like a demon god. He held the 9-nether demonic sword in his hand and slashed out a crescent-shaped black sword light that rapidly streaked across the sky. The kings that wanted to attack didn't even have a chance to do so before they were killed. As for the others, they all felt their scalps go numb and did not dare to attack again. How were they supposed to fight? The other party was simply too strong. They were beaten to the point where they couldn't fight back at all. Perhaps only the Saintess herself, or an almighty expert, would be able to suppress him. Who are you? How dare they cause trouble here? Disturbing the Saintess's cultivation? At this moment, a cold shout rang out. Then, a a figure descended from the sky like a long spear. Senior Wang Ping. Many people cried out in surprise when they saw that figure, and all of them were overjoyed. The person who descended from the sky was a youth. Although he had a young appearance, his status in the All Beginnings Holy Land was extremely noble. Even the purple-robed old man from before was no match for him. That was because Wang Ping was one of the candidates. He was extremely powerful and had a very good relationship with the new Saintess of All Beginnings, so he was also here at this moment. The moment Wang Ping landed, he frowned. This was because he discovered that there was a lot of blood around him, as well as the corpses of their Holy Land's experts. This caused his expression to darken. "What's going on?" he asked coldly. "Is there a powerful being here?" Truth be told, this kind of thing would normally never happen in their All Beginnings Holy Land. After all, they were a peerless holy land that no one dared to provoke. But now, so many experts had been killed. This shocked him greatly. "Senior Wang Ping, you must avenge us." "It's that brat. He's the one who killed so many experts." Everyone pointed at Lin Xian. "What? It's him?" Wang Ping was shocked. His gaze finally landed on Lin Xian. Truth be told, he hadn't paid any attention to the other party before. After all, the other party's aura was only that of a late 4-star king. This kind of cultivation was nothing in the All Beginnings Holy Land. Thus, he hadn't taken it to heart. However, he did not expect that the scene before him was caused by someone he had neglected. This gave him an inconceivable feeling. He even suspected that he had misheard. But in the next moment, his expression darkened, and an ice-cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. That was because Lin Xian shouted in front of him, "Who are you? Hurry up and tell your saintess to come out." Arrogant. The other party was simply too arrogant. He actually dared to come to their doorstep and shout so arrogantly in their territory. He couldn't tolerate this. "Brat, who are you?" Wang Ping coldly snorted. "Senior brother. He's that little thief Lin Xian." A nearby disciple hastily reminded him. "What? He's that Lin Xian?" Wang Ping was stunned for a moment. Then, a sinister expression appeared on his face. He wasn't unfamiliar with this name. That was because the Wavering Light Holy Land had issued a warrant for Lin Xian's arrest. Moreover, not long ago, news had spread that Lin Xian had captured their All Beginnings Holy Land's genius, Lu Mingyue. Thus, many disciples in the All Beginnings Holy Land considered Lin Xian to be a demon. They wished that they could personally kill him. However, Wang Ping hadn't expected that Lin Xian would actually appear here. "So, you're that Lin Xian." Wang Ping frowned. Although the other party had only revealed the cultivation of a late 4-star king, his strength had already surpassed the majority of 6-star kings. "Brat, I have to admit that you're very smart. You actually suppressed your cultivation to that of a 4-star king and fooled so many experts. However, it's a pity that your little tricks are useless before me," Wang Ping coldly said. In his opinion, the reason why Lin Xian had been able to kill so many experts was because he had concealed his cultivation. This had caused the All Beginnings Holy Land's cultivators to be careless. Thus, Lin Xian had been able to kill them. As for Wang Ping, he absolutely wouldn't fall for such a trick. "Concealed my cultivation?" Lin Xian's lips curled into a disdainful smile. He wasn't concealing his cultivation. Instead, he was truly a late 4-star king. However, there was no need to tell Wang Ping about this. In the next instant, Lin Xian tightened his grip on the demonic sword and coldly said, "Since you're not willing to call out your holy maiden, I can only go and find her myself." "Humph, with just you?" "Brat, if you want to find the holy maiden, you'll have to pass through me first," Wang Ping coldly shouted. As one of the late holy sons, he was extremely powerful and incomparably terrifying. Thus, at this moment, he didn't place Lin Xian in his eyes. "Since you dare to block my path, I can only kill you. Then, I'll look for the holy maiden of all beginnings." Lin Xian's voice was indifferent as he took large strides forward. "You're courting death." Wang Ping was truly enraged. He couldn't tolerate Lin Xian's casual attitude. When had he ever been looked down upon like this? Primal Chaos Treasure Wheel. With a furious shout, a radiance that filled the sky condensed in his right hand, forming a huge wheel that rapidly rotated. That wheel was formed entirely from primal chaos energy and was incomparably terrifying. As it rotated, it carried the might of wind and thunder, capable of easily shattering the void. Chapter 1812. The Dharma wheel was completely formed by the chaotic chi and was extremely terrifying. As it spun, it carried the power of wind and thunder and could easily shatter the void. Buzz. Wang Ping activated the huge Dharma wheel and slashed at Lin Xian. Lin Xian waved the long sword in his hand, and the great dragon sword soul in his body quickly revolved. An extremely powerful force surged out. It followed the nine-nether demonic sword and swept forward. The nine-nether demonic sword trembled and let out a tsunami-like sound, blooming with bright light. The entire demonic sword seemed to have come alive like a living black dragon, and its terrifying aura was overwhelming. It caused the entire space to boil. As the long sword was waved, thousands of sword lights burst out and completely enveloped the entire space. Buzz. On the other side, Wang Ping's expression changed drastically. In his vision, everything around him had disappeared, and there was only a black longsword between heaven and earth. It was extremely terrifying as it pierced towards him. Boom, boom. This sword was too powerful, and it caused the entire space to shake violently. Poof. Wang Ping's body was pierced through by the sword. Blood spurted out and dyed the sky red. However, Lin Xian didn't even look at him as he strode forward. At this moment, he had the aura of killing gods and Buddhas in his way. Nothing could stop him. The surrounding experts from the Holy Lands were all trembling, their faces filled with fear. They were like a tide, quickly opening a path for him. Powerful. He was simply too powerful. Facing a saint candidate, he killed him with a single sword. This method was heaven-defying. This was definitely a terrifying killing god. Perhaps only a true saint or saintess could subdue him. Lin Xian held the nine-nether demonic sword and strode forward. Wherever he passed, no one stopped him. Not only that, but there were also drops of blood flowing on the nine-nether demonic sword and dripping onto the ground. With the killing sword in hand, Lin Xian was completely unstained. This contrast made everyone's scalp tingle. They even had to kneel on the ground. Was he really just a four-star king? Some people were puzzled. They did not dare to believe that a four-star king could have such powerful combat strength. They even suspected that this was definitely a saint-level figure. Lin Xian came to the front and looked up. In front of them was a continuous stretch of palaces that were incomparably majestic. The one in the center was like a celestial palace, surrounded by dazzling light. This should be the All-Beginnings Holy Land, the place where the saintess cultivated. Lin Xian stopped and looked ahead, finally locking onto the palace in front of him. Then, he took another step forward and walked over. The surrounding experts of the All-Beginnings Holy Land also followed behind him. Whoosh, whoosh. Seeing Lin Xian walk over, countless figures quickly appeared around the palace, each of them extremely powerful. It was filled with a murderous aura. They looked coldly at Lin Xian. Who are you? Hurry up and get lost. Otherwise, don't blame us for starting a massacre. These people were all elites among kings, and they were in charge of protecting the saintess. Therefore, they naturally did not allow anyone to cause trouble near the palace. Tell your holy maiden to come out. Lin Xian held the blood-dripping killing sword in his hand, his voice incomparably cold. Hearing this, everyone around him sucked in a cold breath. As for the guards in front, their expressions sank. The saintess of all beginnings was the future master of the All Beginnings Holy Land. She was high and mighty, and everyone had to respect her. But now, someone actually dared to speak such arrogant words. This was outrageous. It was truly shocking. Brat, who are you? You dare to cause trouble here? Are you tired of living? Hurry up and get lost. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. You dare to insult the saintess? Slap your face 100 times. Break your arms and I can spare your life. Cold voices rang out one after another. Clearly, these people were angered. Lin Xian slowly raised his arm and pointed the blood-dripping killing sword in front of him. Since you're so stubborn, Don't blame me for being impolite. Sharp sword energy erupted from Lin Xian's body once again. Like a peerless divine sword, it rapidly slashed in all directions. Seeing that Lin Xian wanted to attack again, the expressions of the guards in front of him sank, and their eyes burned with anger. A terrifying aura surged from their bodies, and like a flood, it instantly enveloped the entire space. Kill. One of them, a middle-aged man in armor, stepped out. His entire person was like a god of war, extremely powerful. In his hand, there was a golden spear, like the sun, shining brightly. With a thrust of the spear, the golden light burst out, piercing through the void, turning into countless golden waves that surged over. The entire sky was dyed golden, like a golden beach, emitting scorching energy. Slash. In the face of such a powerful attack, Lin Xian's expression was calm. Behind him, the dragon sword realm appeared and enveloped him. He quickly raised his arm, waved the Nine Serenity's demonic sword, and slashed down. Buzz. A terrifying sword light shot into the sky, as if it could topple mountains and overturn seas, filling the entire space. This sword descended quickly, as if it was not a long sword, but the entire sky, quickly pressing down. It was incomparably dark, like the Nine Serenity's demonic realm, causing people's hearts to tremble. A spear and a sword collided in the air, and violent energy annihilated the void. Not good. Retreat. The surrounding warriors' faces changed drastically, and they frantically retreated. This was because this energy was enough to shatter them. Boom, boom. At the same time, the other guards moved quickly, attacking wildly. 9 chaos banners appeared in their hands. They fluttered in the wind and made flapping sounds. Like 9 mountains, they appeared in the void, firmly locking onto Lin Xian. Terrifying energy burst out, and chaos energy filled the entire square, forming a strange vortex. Boom, boom. In the next moment, the 9 chaos flags landed, nailed to the ground, and formed a strange array, completely enveloping Lin Xian. Strange chaotic chi gushed out, forming streaks of sharp killing intent that surrounded Lin Xian. Boom, boom. Lin Xian waved his arm, and the dragon sword realm quickly expanded, contending against the 9 chaos flags. The two collided, and the sound of metal colliding rang out. Sparks flew in the sky, as bright as shooting stars. At this moment, the powerful middle-aged man attacked again. The golden spear seemed to have turned into a golden dragon, roaring out. Buzz. Lin Xian's body was completely integrated into the dragon sword realm. In the next moment, a huge sword chi soared into the sky, like a huge dragon, and quickly slashed forward. There was a powerful aura that could destroy heaven and earth. Not only that, the dragon sword realm swept out, forming a black sword wave, spreading out in all directions. Clang! The black sword chi was like an ancient demonic mountain, directly shattering the golden light in the sky. The powerful middle-aged man was sent flying, as if he was struck by lightning. Meanwhile, the black sword ripple swept across the place and sliced the 9 chaos flags in half. Chapter 1813. The 9 chaos banners were slashed in half at the waist and turned into nothing. The array that trapped Lin Xian was also broken in an instant. Without the threat of the chaos array, Lin Xian snorted coldly. With the killing sword in hand, he charged forward like a ray of light. Soon, he arrived in front of the middle-aged man. The demonic sword was dripping with blood as it quickly slashed down. The middle-aged man's face was pale. He could feel the terrifying killing intent from the demonic sword. In the next moment, he roared angrily. A ray of chaotic light rushed out of his body and quickly condensed in front of him. Boom! The light of primal chaos transformed into a figure that was identical to him. It blocked the shocking sword strike for him. He quickly retreated. Countless rays of light rushed out of his body and brought him to a safe distance. Poof! The 9 darkness demonic sword descended and split the figure formed by the chaotic light. Substitution technique. Lin Xian raised his eyebrows in surprise. He did not expect the middle-aged man to have such a life-saving technique. The middle-aged man's face was very ugly. This was his life-saving technique that could save his life in a crisis. However, he had used it now. Next, he had to fight with all his strength. If he was stabbed by the demonic sword again, he would not be able to escape. The middle-aged man's face was very ugly. He did not expect his opponent to be so powerful and push him into such a desperate situation. In the next moment, his fingers formed a strange ancient seal. Chaotic chi that filled the sky surged out of his body, transforming into 9 ancient runes that revolved around him. Each rune carried a mysterious power as if it had transcended time and space. It was filled with a shocking aura. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The middle-aged man waved his hand. The 9 ancient runes shone brightly and shot into the sky. A terrifying aura instantly erupted and surged forward. Humph! Facing such a strange attack, Lin Xian snorted coldly. He waved the 9 darkness demonic sword again. The sword chi flashed into thousands of sword shadows and completely covered the area in front of him. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of metal clashing could be heard. The terrifying sword chi slashed on the 9 ancient runes, creating an earth-shattering collision sound. It was like a powerful army that shook the void. Boom! The 9 ancient runes that flickered with light exploded in front of everyone's shocked expressions. What? How is this possible? The middle-aged man was completely dumbfounded. These 9 runes were one of his secret techniques. It was incomparably terrifying. Each rune was capable of killing a 6-star king. When the 9 runes appeared together, its power was even more terrifying. But now, it had been shattered by someone in an instant. It was unbelievable. There was even a trace of fear in his eyes. This was because the young man before him was the strangest person he had ever met. He didn't even feel this way when he faced the saint of all beginnings. Although he was terrified, he would not give up. He would never allow Lin Xian to interfere with the Holy Maiden. So, in the next moment, he roared and grabbed the golden spear again. This golden spear was about 3 meters long and was extremely dazzling. Mysterious patterns were engraved on it, and it was filled with power. This was an earth-rank artifact that had been tempered by him for hundreds of years. Under his control, the golden light formed a radiance that enveloped him. The long spear was like a dragon as it moved out once again. Stubborn. Lin Xian snorted coldly and used dragonate steps. His entire body was extremely fast. The 9 nether demonic sword in his hand turned into a black flash and streaked across the sky. Clang! The sword chi was sharp and cut through the golden light in the sky. The 9 nether demonic sword collided with the golden spear and sent it flying. Puff! Then, the demonic sword pierced into the middle-aged man's body. The terrifying sword chi was like a violent current, completely destroying the middle-aged man. Plop! The middle-aged man's body fell. The light in the sky disappeared, and the surroundings were silent. This was too shocking. Was he really going to force the saintess out? They didn't dare to imagine. If this was true, then this would definitely be a shocking event. This was because another prodigy of the Holy Sun level had appeared. Everyone looked forward and stared at Lin Xian. However, at this moment, the void fluctuated violently. Then, a huge vortex appeared in the sky and spun rapidly, forming a strange phenomenon between heaven and earth. A terrifying aura spread out from the vortex and quickly descended. It was as if the 9 heavenly stars were falling. It was incomparably terrifying. The terrifying energy swept out in all directions, shrouding Lin Xian in an instant. Pong, pong, pong. Just this energy alone made many kings kneel on the ground. They couldn't resist at all. How terrifying. The other experts quickly retreated, afraid that they would be caught in the crossfire. Lin Xian frowned and looked up at the sky. The next moment, he used heavenly dragonate steps. His entire body turned into a stream of light and instantly disappeared. Boom! The void where he was originally at was directly shattered into pieces. It's an expert. Lin Xian arrived at a safe place and frowned. This energy was much stronger than any of the previous experts. The surrounding kings of the All Beginnings Holy Land all cried out in alarm, "Saintess! The saintess has made a move." Their eyes burst with light as hope rose in them again. That's right, the saintess of all beginnings had indeed made a move. Sure enough, in the next moment, a figure descended from the huge vortex of spiritual power like a fairy from the 9 heavens. The figure was wearing a blue gauze dress that gave off a clear and transparent feeling. A light purple gauze belt was tied around her shoulders, and her black hair was tied up in a flowing cloud hairpin that casually scattered over her shoulders. A gust of wind blew past, giving off an elegant feeling as if a fairy had descended to the mortal world. Saintess of all beginnings? Lin Xian frowned and stared at the figure. He didn't expect the other party to take the initiative to appear. You're that Lin Xian? I didn't expect you to dare to run wild here. The saintess of all beginnings said coldly, Boy, surrender obediently. You're not my opponent. Also, hand over Lu Mingyue and kneel on the side. I can give you a quick death. Otherwise, your fate will be, as she spoke. A powerful aura surged from the saintess of all beginnings. Hearing these words, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and asked, You're the saintess of all beginnings? I'm very curious. What if I capture you and take you as a maid? I wonder what the All Beginnings Holy Land's reaction will be? As soon as these words came out, the surrounding kings were in an uproar. If this was really the case, it would definitely shock the world. One had to know that the other party had already captured Lu Mingyue. If they also captured the saintess of all beginnings, it would definitely pierce through the heavens. The All Beginnings Holy Land's face would be swept to the ground. Sure enough, the saintess of all beginnings' expression sank, and she frowned slightly. Boy, I already gave you a very good choice, but you didn't listen. Since that's the case, don't blame me. Chapter 1814. Brat, I've already given you a very good choice, but you didn't listen. Since that's the case, don't blame me. Her voice was cold, as if she were an aloof goddess from the 9th heaven. You want to kill me with just you? Lin Xian coldly snorted and pointed his sword at the sky. Today, I'll capture you and make you my maid. I'd like to see if the All Beginnings Holy Land still dares to cause trouble for me. Humph. Hearing this, the saintess of all beginnings coldly snorted. Her eyes were filled with killing intent, and killing intent soared to the sky. The other party actually dared to speak such arrogant words and wanted to make her his maid. How could she endure this? Thus, a terrifying aura surged from her body and killing intent spread out in all directions. In an instant, the entire space froze. The surrounding temperature rapidly dropped, and the terrifying aura caused everyone to tremble. That brat is too arrogant. He actually dares to provoke the saintess of our holy land. It seems he doesn't know the difference between life and death. That's right. The saintess' combat strength is unparalleled, and she even has a supreme treasure in her hand. Even the older generation isn't her match, let alone a mere 4-star king. Just wait. He'll definitely be killed. The saintess is invincible. Discussions rang out. Clearly, the appearance of the saintess of all beginnings had given the surrounding martial artists confidence. Lin Xian stood tall and straight, his black hair fluttering in the wind. He stepped on the void and quickly arrived above the clouds. Streaks of sword chi circled around him like thunderbolts, making faint noises. When he arrived above the clouds, the surrounding clouds instantly collapsed. Nothing could withstand his sword energy. Brat, you dared to kill the people of my All Beginnings Holy Land. I'll make you pay. The saintess of all beginnings' beautiful eyes emitted 2 cold rays of light. They were like sharp lightning that pierced through the void. Her clothes fluttered, and countless streams of chaotic energy tumbled under her feet, forming a lotus platform that supported her. Chaotic light flashed around her, and a sharp aura pierced through the clouds. Terrifying killing intent soared into the sky. Like silver divine dragons, they emitted a terrifying aura that swept out. You're the ones who went too far. Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Lin Xian coldly snorted. A terrifying aura also rushed out from his body, and the 9 Hell Devil sword in his hand flickered with a jet-black light. The long sword vibrated, releasing a thunderous sound that caused the entire space to tremble. Boom, boom. With a sweep of the demonic sword, a terrifying sword chi flew out, resisting the light of chaos. In the next moment, the battle between the two erupted. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions. It was like a tidal wave that kept surging. One had to admit that the Saintess of all beginnings was truly amazing. For this woman to be able to become the Holy Maiden, her strength must be incomparably powerful. Her strength was no weaker than Lu Mingyue's at all. Furthermore, after becoming the Holy Maiden, she would definitely have the support of her sect. Her current strength was even more unfathomable. Lin Xian had also met his match. With the killing sword in hand, he swung it around, unleashing terrifying sword chi in all directions. The void cracked open, and terrifying cracks appeared one after another. Every time the two of them collided, an incomparably powerful energy would erupt, shooting straight into the sky. Not only that, but the terrifying energy also shocked the spectating kings. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Can this brat really contend against the Saintess? Impossible. Who the hell is he? How can he have the combat strength of a holy son? Could it be that he's really a holy son who hid his identity and came to provoke us? Exclamations came one after another. Obviously, they were shocked by the scene in front of them. They even guessed that Lin Xian's true identity was very likely to be a holy son of a large sect. The Saintess of all beginnings also frowned. After fighting with him, she could naturally perceive the terrifying strength of her opponent. No wonder he could capture Lu Mingyue and kill so many experts. It seemed that he was not opportunistic, but had real strength. However, as the Saintess of all beginnings, how could she admit defeat? I have to admit that you're indeed very strong. However, do you really think you can defeat me like this? You're too naive. The Saintess of all beginnings sneered. Then, she waved her hand, and a white dagger appeared in her hand. The dagger was the size of a palm and was incomplete. It was even covered with many cracks. Obviously, it was a defective product. However, as soon as it appeared, it brought with it a terrifying aura that swept in all directions. Even Lin Xian frowned. This aura was so terrifying that it could even threaten him. His opponent was indeed the Saintess of all beginnings. She could take out such a terrifying treasure as soon as she appeared. It's all over. Holding the incomplete dagger, the Saintess of all beginnings snorted and waved her hand. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The void trembled and then cracked. Rays of golden light swept forward like a divine river from the ninth heaven. This energy was so terrifying that it was like a real Milky Way. It carried with it a terrifying murderous aura. That power caused the expressions of everyone present to change. Lin Xian also frowned. He flipped his hand and summoned the 10,000 beast sting. Then, he kept clapping his hands. Clang, clang. The 10,000 beast sting trembled violently and made a loud sound. Then, it quickly became louder. Black light flashed all over the sky, blocking the front. The 10,000 bee stings stood in front of Lin Xian like a black mountain. Clang. The next moment, there was an earth-shattering collision sound. The silver light all over the sky collided with each other and burst into a dazzling light. Countless thunderbolts fell and bombarded all directions. The surrounding palaces turned into dust in an instant. You can block it? Seeing this scene, the Saintess of all beginnings was also surprised. She didn't expect her opponent to have such means. The light all over the sky dissipated. Lin Xian's figure appeared. He stood in the void with a cold face. The sword light in his eyes became more and more intense. It was like a peerless divine sword that cut through the void. He took a step forward and swept the Saintess of all beginnings with the demon sword in his right hand. The sharp sword light tore through everything. The destructive black dragon fist in his left hand was extremely violent. It was like an angry dragon that rushed forward. The Saintess of all beginnings roared angrily. The lotus platform under her feet released chaotic light. The monstrous aura enveloped her whole body. She quickly rushed over. Rumble. With a loud sound, the Saintess of all beginnings stretched out a giant palm. The earthy yellow hand was condensed by chaotic aura. It was extremely fierce and grabbed at Lin Xian. The demon's sword rose into the air and slashed at the giant hand. At the same time, Lin Xian's eyes emitted two cold lights. The 10,000 beast ding in front of him slowly rotated. At this moment, the sky and earth were spinning, and the sea of anger was rolling backward. The chaotic aura was blocked. The giant hand was covered by the sword chi and roared. In an instant, the whole space was torn apart. Kill! Lin Xian roared. The sword light was biting cold, and the stars all over the sky flashed. Countless sword chi, like meteors, streaked across the sky. At this moment, Lin Xian's killing momentum rose to the extreme, causing the world to be in chaos. Chapter 1815. The kings watching the battle all changed their expressions because this aura was too strong. Except for the saintess of all beginnings, no one present could resist this aura. The saintess of all beginnings also looked cold because Lin Xian's sword chi was like a vast ocean, making her sway like duckweed. She could be knocked over at any time. However, her body emitted a vast amount of chaotic chi, and the chaotic lotus under her feet bloomed, firmly holding him back. A strong defense guarded her, resisting the terrible sword chi around her. Even so, she was still swept by a wisp of sword chi, and a corner of her clothes suddenly flew up in smoke. A sword mark appeared on her jade-like skin. Blood dripped down, dyeing her clothes red. Looking from a distance, there was a different kind of beauty. However, the saintess of all beginnings' expression was cold, and her eyes emitted a strong killing intent. It was incredible that he could hurt her. She couldn't bear it. The next moment, she shouted, and the chaotic light on her body suddenly burst out, sweeping in all directions. For a moment, the whole sky lost its luster. At the same time, a terrifying king's domain instantly enveloped Lin Xian and the whole space. "Boy, you dare to hurt me. I will make you pay a painful price," the saintess of all beginnings said, gritting her teeth. Her voice was so cold that it seemed to freeze the void, making everyone's heart beat wildly. Humph! Lin Xian also snorted, unmoved. He held the demon's sword in his hand, and the dragon sword domain appeared, and then he completely disappeared into the void. He didn't really disappear, but he used the heavenly dragon's 8 steps, and his speed was too fast. Some kings couldn't catch his trace at all, and they all thought he had disappeared into thin air. The saintess of all beginnings' pupil shrank sharply because his speed was again beyond her expectations. But the next moment, she waved her hand, and countless chaotic light formed a light curtain in front of her. The chaotic lotus under her feet emitted a terrifying aura, which was frightening. The two fought in the air, and it was very terrifying. Moreover, their domains collided one after another, and each time, a terrible crack was torn in the void. 6 God Sword Technique. Lin Xian let out a long roar. 6 illusory sword gods rushed out from his domain and cooperated with him as they charged forward. The sword god of the 6 paths required each of them to be formed by a sharp sword chi, which was extremely terrifying. The void shattered in an instant. The surrounding chaotic light was also annihilated continuously, and it even dimmed significantly. This scene was too terrifying. Lin Xian was like a god of swords. Wherever his sword pointed, everything would be destroyed. Nothing could stop it. Primordial chaos. At the critical moment, the holy maiden of all beginnings shouted. Immediately, her king's domain gave off an incomparably terrifying light as boundless primal chaos chi surged out and swept out in all directions. In an instant, Lin Xian was trapped. Anger. He was too angry. The saintess of all beginnings' face was gloomy because she didn't expect her opponent to be so strong that he could break her unique skills one after another. Boundless chaotic light condensed in her hand, forming a resplendent lotus. It swept towards Lin Xian, intending to crush Lin Xian. Kill. The sword god of the 6 paths combined to destroy all techniques. Lin Xian let out a long roar, and his whole person was extremely powerful. His body emitted a terrifying sword light, and the sword god of the 6 paths around him also merged with him. A huge burst of sword chi broke out and soared into the sky. Boom! The long sword swept out, and the black sword chi was like a surging river, instantly slashing towards the resplendent lotus. The next moment, the sound of the mirror breaking was heard, and the lotus formed by countless chaotic light was destroyed in an instant. Even the upper body of the saintess of all beginning was shrouded by the terrifying sword light. No. Seeing this scene, the surrounding kings screamed frantically because they were very worried about the saintess of all beginning. Lin Xian's sword chi was so fierce that it made them shudder with fear. They knew that there were not many people below the almighty realm who could resist it. Boom, boom. The roar in the sky continued, flickering, and one black hole after another appeared. Then, in the black hole vortex, a figure appeared. It was the saintess of all beginning. However, when everyone saw the figure, they were all stunned, and their eyes widened in disbelief. The upper body of the saintess of all beginning had been completely cut open, and a terrifying crack had appeared. At the crack, countless mysterious runes flickered and quickly spread throughout the saintess of all beginning's body. A clone. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian frowned. He didn't expect that it was just a clone of the saintess of all beginning. The surrounding kings were all stunned as well. Before this, they didn't know that it was just a clone of the saintess of all beginning. It wasn't until now that they saw the situation in front of them that they realized it was a clone. Moreover, it was a magical ability of the all-beginning Holy Land called the Chaos Clone. They didn't expect that the saintess of all beginning had mastered it. In the sky, the saintess of all beginning's clone had an abnormally ferocious expression. She looked at her body that had been cut open, and a cold light burst out from her eyes. Brat, you actually dared to injure this clone of mine? Just wait. When my real body arrives, I will definitely kill you. With that, the Chaos Clone began to change, and the saintess of all beginning's appearance gradually dimmed. Then her delicate body began to melt, forming a mass of chaos chi. This chaos chi was different from ordinary chaos chi. It was carefully refined by the saintess of all beginning. At this moment, it was incomparably deep and full of power. It turned into a bolt of lightning and quickly rushed down, wanting to kill Lin Xian. Obviously, this clone had been destroyed, so the saintess of all beginning wanted to use the last of her energy to kill Lin Xian. Boom! A terrifying bolt of lightning flashed, and the void was ruthlessly torn open, and an incomparably dark crack appeared. Wherever it passed, nothing could stop it. In an instant, it arrived in front of Lin Xian and fiercely blasted down. Boom! Lin Xian's pupil shrank because this speed was too fast, not even slower than his heavenly dragon's 8 steps. It was impossible for him to leave now, so he could only resist. The dragon sword domain quickly emerged, and countless sword chi interweaved in front of him, forming a 100-meter-tall azure dragon divine shield. An azure dragon was coiled on the shield, looking as if it was alive. Not only that, but he also used the great dragon sword soul to cut a vacuum around him. He used it to devour the powerful energy. Boom! The next moment, the two collided, and a terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The entire sky was instantly shrouded in endless light. Whoosh! 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 The surrounding kings kept retreating, and at the same time, their eyes flickered as they stared ahead. They wanted to know if Lin Xian had been killed. That boy is definitely dead. This is all the power of the clone. It's definitely enough to kill him. Damn boy. How dare you be so arrogant and provoke our all-beginning holy land? Now you know how powerful we are. Cold laughter rang out one after another. Obviously, they thought that this power was enough to kill the other party. Chapter 1816. Sneers could be heard from all around. Obviously, they thought that this power was enough to kill the other party. The violent explosion continued, and the entire space shook as if it would shatter at any time. Everyone stared into the distance, waiting for the final result. But soon, they were dumbfounded, and there was even a strong sense of horror in their eyes. This was because Lin Xian's figure had appeared. Not only that, but he was unscathed and unharmed. He was surrounded by terrifying space cracks, and in front of him was a huge azure dragon sacred shield. It blocked all the attacks. How could this be? He's fine. Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. One had to know that the attack just now was extremely terrifying. probably not many people below the Almighties could resist it. Even if they could resist it, they would definitely be seriously injured. But now, not only did the other party withstand it, but he was also unscathed. They couldn't believe it at all. Humph! Lin Xian glanced around, and then a gust of wind blew, pushing away all the surrounding dust. Run! Seeing this scene, the surrounding people quickly fled in all directions. They didn't dare to stay any longer, because none of them was a match for Lin Xian. If they stayed any longer, they would probably end up like the Saint of all beginnings. However, at this time, the Crimson Dragon came out, and a formation directly enveloped the entire city. Want to run? It's not that easy. The terrifying formation flickered and blocked all of them. Ruzalong, don't kill them. Just take away the resources and treasures on them, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Then, he ignored them and looked at the palaces in front of him. Although some of the palaces were destroyed in the battle, there were still many of them. In particular, the huge palace in front of him was shining brightly. It was as if the immortal palace was where the Saint of all beginnings used to cultivate. He had to admit that the other party was too careful, only sending a doppelganger. Moreover, what surprised Lin Xian was that the other party must have cultivated some kind of incredible cultivation technique. The strength of the doppelganger would increase greatly, and so would the strength of the body. That was why he sent a doppelganger to cultivate. I wonder what treasures there are in there? Lin Xian's heart was filled with anticipation. With a flicker, he arrived at the palace. Then, he waved his hand and all the doors opened. The hall was very quiet, and there was even a mist surrounding it, emitting a fragrant scent. This is ambergris. Lin Xian was shocked. This was no ordinary incense. It was refined from the body fluid of a peerless demon king, and it had incomparably miraculous effects. When a king realm cultivator was cultivating, they could light one up to increase their cultivation speed and achieve twice the results with half the effort. This kind of incense was very magical and very precious. He didn't expect the saintess of all beginnings to have it. She was indeed worthy of being the holy maiden of a peerless holy land. It seemed like she was truly wealthy. Lin Xian didn't hold back. He took a deep breath and instantly inhaled all the fragrance around him. He could feel the spiritual energy in his body boiling like boiling water. The next moment, he strode forward. There, he found countless supreme-grade substandard god crystals. There was even a fist-sized god crystal at the center. It is indeed a good item. Could it be that she is willing to send an avatar to cultivate? Lin Xian was shocked. God crystals were definitely an excellent cultivation resource for a king realm cultivator. Even supreme experts would be envious of them. Ordinary kings didn't have such resources. Only the holy sons and holy maidens of peerless holy lands could enjoy such treatment. He didn't hold back. His figure flickered, and he arrived in front of the god crystal and sat down cross-legged. He held the god crystal and quickly circulated the immortality art, absorbing the pure energy within. His body shone with incomparable radiance, forming vortexes one after another. He absorbed all the surrounding spiritual energy and the fragrance of the ambergris. As for the task of cleaning up the battlefield outside, it was left to the Crimson Dragon. With the Crimson Dragon's strength and the assistance of the array, it was able to easily trap everyone. However, the Crimson Dragon didn't kill these people. Instead, it took away their storage rings. Then, it gave them a good beating. Then, he picked out some energy from these storage rings and began to cultivate. The entire city was still sealed by the array, so the All Beginnings Holy Lands cultivators couldn't send out any news. The people outside also didn't know about the shocking changes that had taken place inside. Just like this, half a month passed. Lin Xian went from one palace to another, sweeping away all the energy within. It had to be said that this was really too rich. This was definitely not an ordinary place because there were too many treasures here. It was hard to believe. In fact, Lin Xian's guess was right. This was indeed not an ordinary place. This was a training ground that the All Beginnings Holy Land had prepared to reward the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings. The purpose was to let the newly promoted Holy Maiden of All Beginnings increase her cultivation and consolidate her strength. However, they didn't expect that the Holy Maiden of all beginnings would send out a clone, and that clone would be killed. This allowed Lin Xian to benefit. Boom! The huge palace trembled, and a sky-high spiritual energy fluctuation soared into the sky, piercing through the clouds and rapidly spreading. Along with it came a terrifying aura that overflowed into the heavens. Inside the palace, Lin Xian's body bloomed with light. Then, he slowly opened his eyes, and his entire body became incomparably powerful. I broke through to become a 5-star king. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up into a smile. Under normal circumstances, even if he had many means, he wouldn't be able to break through to become a 5-star king so easily. But now, there were too many treasures here. He had absorbed these treasures, and with the effect of the dragon rock incense, he had broken through to the 5-star king realm. He had become a 5-star king in advance. His strength had undergone earth-shaking changes. Now, his strength had definitely reached the level of a holy sun. Among the younger generation of the Eastern Wilderness, he was one of the peak existences. Outside, the Crimson Dragon was also howling excitedly, because he had also broken through. After robbing so many kings' storage rings, he had obtained abundant energy and finally broken through to become a 5-star king. Now, he was one step closer to returning to his peak state. Lin Xian looked at the Crimson Dragon, and the smile on his face grew wider. He knew that the Crimson Dragon's strength would be of great help to him. After spending these days together, he also knew some of the Crimson Dragon's past. Previously, the Crimson Dragon was an almighty at his peak state. Now that he had become a 5-star king, he was not far from the peak of the almighty level. He believed that in the near future, the Crimson Dragon would be able to break through again. If the Crimson Dragon recovered to its peak state and became an almighty, then he would have a powerful ally. At least when facing other almighties, he would have the confidence to face them. Kid, what should we do with the rest of them? The Crimson Dragon flew over. Lin Xian's eyes flickered, but he didn't answer. Instead, he woke Lu Mingyue up from the black earth and pulled her out. Chapter 1817. Lu Mingyue's temperament was still outstanding. However, her complexion was somewhat pale. Because of the previous pursuit, she had suffered a serious blow. Of course, this blow was mainly psychological. She had never expected that the All Beginnings Holy Land would chase after her. Lin Xian looked at her and slowly said, "I'll leave those people from the All Beginnings Holy Land to you. You can do as you see fit." What? Leave them to me? Lu Mingyue was stunned. She didn't dare to believe what she had just heard. Are you sure you're not joking? Leave them to me? Lu Mingyue asked again. Lin Xian indifferently said, "Of course I'm not joking. Since the All Beginnings Holy Land is also chasing after you, we're now on the same boat. Thus, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with leaving those people to you to deal with." Are you not afraid that I'll release them? Lu Mingyue asked again. That's your problem. It has nothing to do with me. Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders, appearing as if he didn't care at all. To tell the truth, he really didn't care about those people. Moreover, he had other objectives. The next moment, he continued, "Are you willing to be chased by the All Beginnings Holy Land? Don't you want to change the situation?" Change? Lu Mingyue sighed. Her complexion was extremely unsightly. You're not a disciple of a holy land. You don't know how terrifying the background of a peerless holy land is. Not to mention that you only have the strength of a holy sun. Even if you were an exceptional expert, you wouldn't be able to shake a holy land. Only if a true holy sun was revived might you be able to do it. It's simply impossible for others. Hearing those words, Lin Xian was shocked. It seemed that every single peerless holy land was an incomparably terrifying existence. But soon, he shook his head and said, "You're overthinking things. I'm not asking you to retaliate against the All Beginnings Holy Land. What I mean is, do you want to regain your status as the Saintess of All Beginnings?" Regain my status as the Saintess of All Beginnings? Hearing those words, Lu Mingyue was stunned. Disbelief appeared in her eyes. She truly didn't expect Lin Xian to say such a thing. What? Are you surprised? Lin Xian asked. Very surprised. Are you sure you're not joking with me? You really want me to become the saintess of all beginnings? Of course, Lin Xian said with a smile. At least you becoming the saintess of all beginnings is not the worst result for me. In fact, it is of great benefit to me. You want me to help you? Lu Mingyue instantly understood what Lin Xian meant. That's right. What do you want me to do? Lu Mingyue asked again. I'm not sure yet. Just like back in the Tilted Moon Profound world, I just wanted to form an alliance with you. When I'm in danger and need help, I'll naturally come to you. And as a reward, I will make you the saintess of all beginnings. You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid that I'll betray you? Lu Mingyue raised the most crucial question. Lin Xian's expression also became extremely solemn. He said coldly, Believe me, if I can make you the holy maiden, I can definitely pull you down. So, it's best if you don't betray our alliance. Hearing this, Lu Mingyue nodded and took a deep breath. How confident are you that you can make me the saintess? That will depend on how many people in the All Beginnings Holy Land can support you. What I can do is eliminate the current saintess of all beginnings and let you return to the All Beginnings Holy Land. As for whether you can use your influence to make those people support you after you return, I can't help you with this. Lu Mingyue understood. Indeed, this was a matter of the All Beginnings Holy Land. Lin Xian was a loose cultivator and couldn't help at all. However, just the fact that Lin Xian could kill the saintess of all beginnings was enough to move Lu Mingyue's heart. One had to know that killing a saintess was an extremely difficult matter. The saintess of all beginnings was very strong and stood at the peak of the younger generation. She also had countless guards and experts by her side. There were even experts hibernating in the dark to protect her. Therefore, if Lin Xian didn't make a move, Lu Mingyue wouldn't be able to kill the saintess of all beginnings by herself. In fact, she wouldn't even be able to contend against the other party. Don't worry. As long as you can kill the saintess of all beginnings and let me return to the All Beginnings Holy Land, I have confidence in what will happen next. Lu Mingyue wasn't lying about this. It was impossible for such a large and peerless holy land to be harmonious internally. It was definitely divided into many factions. The faction she belonged to and the faction the saintess of all beginnings belonged to were two different factions. Moreover, there was usually friction between them and their relationship wasn't good. Therefore, if she could return, with her influence and strength, she would definitely be able to obtain the support of the experts in her faction. Of course, the premise of all this was that Lin Xian could kill the saintess of all beginnings. All right, it's settled then. Lin Xian raised his hand and high-fived Lu Mingyue 3 times, forming an alliance. Now, can you undo the seal in my body? Lu Mingyue asked immediately after the alliance was formed. Of course. Lin Xian smiled. Then, his fingers kept moving, sending runes into Lu Mingyue's body. In the next moment, Lu Mingyue's expression became excited because she felt that the sealed power was rapidly recovering. Soon, Lin Xian removed all the seals, and Lu Mingyue's power was quickly restored to its peak. However, she didn't know that Lin Xian had left a final restriction in her body. This restriction couldn't be detected even by a powerful expert. This was a restriction that Lin Xian had recently comprehended, and his technique was very strange. He did this not to go back on his word, but to prevent the other party from going back on her word. If the other party really became the saintess of all beginnings, and then brought countless experts to hunt him down, he would definitely be in trouble. Although he had the strength to kill the other party again. But he didn't want that to happen. Therefore, he left a final life-saving measure, which was to place a mysterious restriction in the other party's body. If Lu Mingyue abided by the alliance and didn't attack him, then this restriction might not be used in his lifetime. And if the other party really wanted to betray him, then he would let the other party know how powerful he was. Lu Mingyue wasn't stupid. When she learned that her power had been restored, she immediately launched a thorough search. He searched his body from the inside out. In the end, she didn't find any restrictions, so she breathed a sigh of relief. Of course, there was a restriction left in her body, but it was so magical that Lu Mingyue couldn't detect it at all. What are you going to do next? Lu Mingyue asked. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. I killed a clone of the saintess of all beginnings a few days ago. I think it will definitely make her furious. But at the same time, she will be very careful and won't show up easily. So, I have to find something that can provoke her more, so that I can lure her out. Chapter 18:18. Something more exciting? What's that? Lu Mingyue was confused. Lin Xian said with a smile, think about it. If I announce to the entire eastern wilderness that I want to auction the Saint of All Beginnings undergarment, won't it cause a sensation? You want to auction the Saint of All Beginnings undergarment? Hearing this, Lu Mingyue was also stunned. Her beautiful eyes even went blank. She really didn't expect Lin Xian to come up with such a plan. On the side, the Crimson Dragon laughed crazily. Haha, boy. As expected of a kindred spirit. But your idea is even more wretched than mine. I like it. The Crimson Dragon was too excited. He was a guy who wanted to see the world in chaos. And he knew that if this news spread out, it would definitely cause a sensation in the eastern wilderness. The Saint of All Beginnings would definitely go crazy. Lu Mingyue's mouth twitched. She felt that Lin Xian's plan was too infuriating. If the Saint of All Beginnings knew about it, she would definitely fly into a rage. But soon, he frowned. But where are you going to get the undergarment? If you just randomly find one, no one will believe you. About this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and stared at Lu Mingyue with a smile. Why are you looking at me? Seeing Lin Xian's eyes, Lu Mingyue's heart skipped a beat. Then, her face darkened. Damn guy, are you trying to trick me? Hee hee. Anyway, in the end, the biggest beneficiary of this matter is you. Of course, you have to do your part now, Lin Xian said with a smile. Hearing this, Lu Mingyue's face darkened completely. Damn guy, he's really trying to trick me. The next moment, she gritted her teeth and said, No, this is absolutely impossible. If you can't, then forget it. Lin Xian shrugged. Anyway, I won't be the Saint of All Beginnings in the end. Why should I spend so much effort to help you? Moreover, with my skills, it's easy to avoid the Saint of All Beginnings. But you? Hearing this, Lu Mingyue's eyes darkened and flickered. She knew that Lin Xian was right. If the other party wanted to leave, all they had to do was find a place to hide, and the All Beginnings Holy Land wouldn't be able to find them. But she was different. She would be recognized no matter where she went. But if she followed Lin Xian, she would always be a maid. If he was discovered by the Saintess of Wanchu, he would definitely be hunted down. Therefore, her situation was the most dangerous. The next moment, she gritted her teeth and said, Fine, I'll give it to you. But remember, you can't tell anyone about this, and you can't let a third person know. Otherwise, I'll definitely kill you. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone, Lin Xian said with a smile. Humph. Lu Mingyue gritted her teeth and walked a few steps away before turning around. The chaotic qi on her body churned rapidly, forming a king's domain that completely enveloped her body. The air was filled with chaotic energy, making it impossible to see what was happening inside. Lin Xian's eyes widened. This chick is actually changing her clothes in public? He was really shocked because he didn't expect her to be so open. Haha, do you think that you can block everyone's line of sight with your king's domain and chaotic energy? Lin Xian's lips curled up in a smile. Then, his eyes flickered as he activated his heavenly secret divine eyes. Mysterious runes appeared as he looked ahead. In truth, it wasn't that Lu Mingyue was open. Her king's domain and chaotic energy could block most people's line of sight. Even their soul power couldn't see through her. But she still underestimated Lin Xian. She didn't know that Lin Xian had the heavenly secret divine eyes. So, at this moment, her movements and figure were clearly visible to Lin Xian. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself, Her figure is really good. I didn't expect this chick to be so good. Suddenly, the king's domain in front of him trembled rapidly. Countless chaotic energy tumbled and gradually disappeared. Lin Xian knew that she was done, so the golden light in his eyes quickly disappeared and returned to normal. He wouldn't let her know that he was watching just now. Moreover, he didn't want to expose the secret of the heavenly secret divine eyes. In front of him, the chaotic energy completely disappeared, and Lu Mingyue's figure appeared again. But this time, She had something in her hand. It was a pink belly band. Lin Xian had already seen the color of her belly band. He even saw the entire process. But now, he could only pretend that he didn't know. He smiled and said, "Pink, you're really young." Humph. Lu Mingyue's expression was ugly and even a little gloomy. Hearing the other party's teasing, she fiercely glared at the other party again, and then reluctantly stretched out her hand. Here. Lin Xian took the red doo-doo and lowered his head to smell it. It smells so good. Is this your body's fragrance? It smells so good. Lin Xian was intoxicated. Lu Mingyue gritted her teeth and said, "Damn boy, don't go too far. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." To be honest, Lu Mingyue was really mad. Especially Lin Xian's action just now. It almost made her go berserk. Okay, I'm just joking with you." Lin Xian waved his hand and then put away the pink belly bands. Next, the two discussed and prepared a plan to kill the Saint of all beginnings. Of course, this matter couldn't be done by just the two of them. They also needed the Crimson Dragon in many formations. They couldn't let their guard down. There must be a large number of masters around her, and there might even be powerful existences. Therefore, they must kill her in one blow. Otherwise, if they missed this chance, she would definitely be very vigilant next time. It would be difficult to kill her again, Lu Mingyue said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Lin Xian also nodded and said, "Don't worry, kings below the level of powerful existences are no threat to me. As for the powerful existences, although I can't shake them now, it's not a problem to trap them for a while if I use formations. I'll leave this to the Crimson Dragon." Because the Crimson Dragon used to be a powerful existence, although its realm had fallen, it still had vision and experience. Coupled with his attainments in formations, he must have such a formation in his hands. However, the materials needed to inscribe it were more precious. But no matter how precious they were, Lin Xian had to make it. Otherwise, this plan would be difficult to succeed. As for the materials needed for the Crimson Dragon, most of them could be found here by Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue, because the two of them were really rich, but there were also some that they didn't have at all and had to obtain from the outside world. Therefore, they must first find the materials and inscribe formations that could trap powerful existences before they could start. Chapter 18-19. The two of them were rich, but there were some things they didn't have. They had to be obtained from the outside world. Therefore, they had to find the materials and inscribe a formation that could trap an almighty before they could make a move. Innate purple thunder stone. We have to find it. Otherwise, the formation can't be formed, said the Crimson Dragon in a deep voice. Is it difficult to find? Lin Xian had never heard of the innate purple thunder stone. Lu Mingyue was shocked. It was indeed a treasure. She didn't expect it to require such a treasure. To be honest, she knew the value of the innate purple thunder stone, but she didn't expect it to be used in a formation. Of course, don't forget that the one we want to trap is an almighty. No, it's not an ordinary king, said the Crimson Dragon. Where can we get the innate purple thunder stone? Asked Lin Xian. Although the stone was precious, he had to get it. Because compared to the benefits he would gain in the future, this stone was too insignificant. If he killed the current saintess of all beginnings and let Lu Mingyue take the throne, he would be able to form an alliance with the All Beginnings Holy Land. At least among the younger generation, Lin Xian would be supported. The stakes involved in this were not something that could be compared to a stone. Therefore, no matter how precious the innate purple thunder stone was, he had to get it. Lu Mingyue thought for a long time and finally said slowly, "I've heard of this thing. It seems to have appeared in the northern region." The northern region? Lin Xian's eyes lit up. The northern region wasn't the northern plains continent. It was the northern region of the eastern wasteland. The true spirit world was divided into 5 continents, but the area of each continent was too large. It was far larger than the Tianwu continent that Lin Xian came from. Therefore, these continents were divided into 5 regions: north, south, east, west, and center. The northern region was the northern region of the eastern wasteland. In that case, let's go. Let's go to the northern region and see if there's any news about the innate purple thunderstone. Since they knew that the innate purple thunderstone was in the northern region, Ling Xian and the others naturally had to go. As for how to get there, that was a problem. The eastern wasteland was very big. Although the northern region was in the north of the eastern wasteland, it would take at least a few years to fly there. The best way was naturally to teleport. However, although the Crimson Dragon and Lin Xian had the profound jade pedestal, they couldn't teleport across the distance. Only some peerless great sects and peerless sacred grounds would have such a long-distance teleportation array. However, Lu Mingyue said, "Don't worry about the teleportation. I know a place that can teleport us to the northern region." "Oh, there's such a place?" Lin Xian's eyes twinkled. "That's natural, because this world doesn't only have the desolate era and the peerless Holy Lands. There are also some mysterious forces. Even people from Holy Lands and remote antiquity families sometimes need to hide their identities. Therefore, in some places in the Eastern Wasteland, there are super teleportation portals for people who need them." Following this, Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue used the mystical jade pedestal to teleport. 2 days later, they arrived at their destination. If it weren't for Lu Mingyue leading the way, Lin Xian wouldn't have dared to imagine that the place they'd arrived at would have a super teleportation array. That was because this place was simply too ordinary. This place wasn't a bustling city or a peerless great sect. Instead, it was an ordinary village. The village was very simple, and there weren't many flourishing things. Moreover, there weren't many people here. Evidently, not many people knew about this teleportation array. If it weren't for Lu Mingyue, Lin Xian wouldn't have known that there was a super teleportation array hidden in this village. The two of them landed at a corner outside the village. Lu Mingyue took out a jade mask and put it on. She was currently being chased by the All Beginnings Holy Land. Therefore, she couldn't be recognized. Lin Xian's method was even simpler. He simply changed his body and took on another appearance. The two of them also wore ordinary outer clothes. Since they'd arrived at this place, they didn't want others to discover their identities. In the next instant, the two of them walked toward the village. There weren't many people inside. There were only a few children playing on the streets. Moreover, the majority of them were cooking in their own homes. From time to time, smoke would slowly rise from the chimney. As for Lin Xian, he followed Lu Mingyue and headed toward the depths of the village. "I've been here before and used the teleportation array once. Therefore, I'm rather familiar with this place. Follow me. Don't wander around randomly. There are peerless experts guarding this place," Lu Mingyue said through voice transmission. Peerless experts. Lin Xian was shocked to hear that. It seemed that this place was indeed extraordinary. It had both a super teleportation array and a peerless expert guarding it. Apart from that, there were also so many ordinary villagers hiding in this special place. It was truly shocking. Following a winding and rugged path, Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue arrived before a ruined temple. Soon after, their figures flashed and they entered the temple. The temple was very dilapidated. There were cobwebs everywhere, and there was a lot of dust and fog inside. However, Lu Mingyue didn't care about this at all. She walked to the front of the stove and bowed 3 times to the statue of the earth god. Then, she took out a few precious heavenly treasures and placed them on the counter in front of her. Lin Xian watched silently from the side. He didn't say anything because he believed that Lu Mingyue must have a way to teleport. Buzz. Sure enough, in the next moment, the counter suddenly emitted a light and the heavenly treasures on it were taken away. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that the counter actually contained a teleportation array. Moreover, it looked very strange. Lu Mingyue, on the other hand, seemed very calm because this wasn't the first time she had seen this. She wasn't anxious. Instead, she waited patiently. Sure enough, not long after those heavenly treasures disappeared, there was a flash of light and a palm-sized stone appeared on the counter. The stone's shape was very strange. Seeing that stone, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He knew that the teleportation array should be able to work, because he was also an expert in teleportation arrays. Therefore, he could naturally tell at a glance that the stone that appeared on the counter was a part of the teleportation array. If that stone was removed, Even if there was a super teleportation array, it couldn't be activated. However, if the stone that was engraved with Tao patterns on the counter was placed properly, the entire teleportation array would be complete. That way, it could be used. The heavenly treasures that Lu Mingyue had handed over earlier were the cost of using the super teleportation array. Alright, it's done. Let's go to the teleportation array. Lu Mingyue picked up the stone and said to Lin Xian. Then, she took the lead and walked towards the southeast. There were some miscellaneous items there. However, Lu Mingyue waved her sleeve and moved those items away, revealing a dusty teleportation array. She waved her hand again and the dust in the sky disappeared. An extremely mysterious teleportation array appeared in front of the two of them. Chapter 1820. The teleportation formation was very mysterious. There were strange patterns and runes carved on it. Obviously, it was a teleportation formation set up by a super expert. It could teleport across long distances. However, the teleportation formation was missing a corner. Obviously, it was missing the stone in Lu Mingyue's hand. As for Lu Mingyue, she placed the stone in her hand where it was missing. Suddenly, the teleportation formation made cracking sounds. Then, it emitted a faint light. When Lin Xian saw this, he knew that the teleportation formation was complete. They could teleport now. In the next moment, he took a step forward and came to the teleportation formation. Lu Mingyue's figure flickered, and she stood beside him. Then, Lu Mingyue waved her hand and took out 60 pieces of subdivine crystals from her storage ring. She placed them in the groove of the teleportation formation. Buzz. With the support of energy, the teleportation formation under their feet started to shake. It emitted a bright light. Then, a ball of light shrouded the two of them. Buzz. In the next moment, the two of them disappeared in the air. The teleportation formation quickly dimmed. Then, it became ancient. Crack. The stone that Lu Mingyue placed on earlier left the teleportation formation and floated in the air. Then, it disappeared. The ruined temple returned to its original state. Those who did not know the details would not take a second look at it. On the other hand, Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue were teleported away. The two of them entered the void tunnel and went through a long-distance teleportation. The process was very boring. They could not even feel the passage of time. After some time, the space shattered and the two of them appeared in the sky. Buzz. As soon as they appeared, Lin Xian took out a spiritual boat and caught the two of them. They would definitely feel dizzy after coming out of the teleportation formation. Even the spiritual power in their bodies would not flow smoothly. Therefore, they had to calm down first. Luckily, the two of them were powerful. Therefore, the discomfort only lasted for a moment. In the next moment, the two of them returned to normal. Then, Lin Xian stood on the spiritual boat and looked down. The north region was very vast. The terrain here was mostly plains. The boundless prairie was like a green ocean. The north region was the northernmost part of the eastern wasteland continent. Further north was the northern plains continent. Therefore, the topography of the northern region was more or less similar to that of the northern plains continent, but it wasn't completely the same. Go. Lu Mingyue and Lin Xian flew at high speed. Their destination this time was a huge city in the northern domain called Violet Cloud City. The north region occupied a vast area in the eastern wasteland, and it was also very prosperous. Therefore, Lu Mingyue repeatedly warned Lin Xian not to be arrogant here, and to avoid fighting as much as possible. Lin Xian rolled his eyes at these words. He wasn't a battle maniac. If others didn't find trouble with him, he naturally wouldn't make a move. However, if there was really someone who was blind enough to make a move on him, then all the rules would be meaningless. Lin Xian wouldn't lose out. After spending nearly half a day, the two of them finally saw a city. Thus, they quickly landed and inquired about it. In the end, they confirmed their location and bought a map of the north region before they left. Violet Cloud City was very famous in the north region. Almost everyone knew about it, because there was a very famous Violet Cloud Palace in Violet Cloud City. The Violet Cloud Palace was only a very huge palace. There were even some that were bigger than it. However, none of them were more famous than it. This was because the metal used to build the Violet Cloud Palace was too magical and unique. It was the extremely precious Violet Cloud Cold Steel. This was a very precious metal, and it was even a material used to refine Earth-rank treasures. However, someone actually used such a precious metal to build a palace, and an extremely huge one at that. One could imagine how shocking this was. Moreover, the person who built the palace wasn't an ordinary person, because ordinary people wouldn't be so generous. Even if they had the heart, they wouldn't be able to take out so much Violet Cloud Cold Steel. The builder of the Violet Cloud Palace was a clan of the ancients. The Gu clan. That's right, it was the Gu clan. The eastern wasteland was very big. The eastern region was the territory of the Wavering Light Sacred Land, and the north region was the headquarters of the Gu clan. Of course, other than the Gu clan, there were other great sects and sacred lands. However, the Gu clan had produced a great emperor, so their foundation could be said to be very powerful, which shocked everyone. After flying for more than 10 days, Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue finally arrived above Violet Cloud City. Looking from afar, there was a huge city on the vast land. Moreover, this city was very strange. It was like a purple cloud that had descended on the land. What a strange city! Lin Xian narrowed his eyes in the sky. Even without the Violet Cloud Palace, this city alone was enough to be famous. The reason for that was because the city was simply too mysterious. Lu Mingyue also exclaimed, "I've been here once, but I didn't expect to see this cloud city now. I'm still shocked. It's indeed very majestic. No wonder it's so famous." Lin Xian also laughed loudly. "Let's go down." Then, his body swayed and fell down like a meteorite. Lu Mingyue also floated and followed behind. Although Violet Cloud City looked small from the sky, Lin Xian became more and more amazed as they descended. The reason for that was because the city was simply too vast. It occupied an area of 10,000 miles, so it was definitely a huge city. After entering Violet Cloud City, Lin Xian saw people coming and going on the streets. Powerful martial artists could be seen everywhere. It seemed that Violet Cloud City was not only vast, but there were also countless experts. It should be a place where martial artists like to gather. Let's go to the Violet Cloud Palace. Lu Mingyue's expression was calm. She took a deep breath and walked forward. Since they had come to Violet Cloud City, they had to go to the Violet Cloud Palace. Otherwise, it would be a wasted trip. Lin Xian's face was calm and a smile hung on the corner of his mouth. He followed behind Lu Mingyue and looked around from time to time. However, not long after, he narrowed his eyes. This was because he had already discovered that there was a huge palace in front of him. The palace was purple and emitted a faint light that surrounded it. On the walls, there were even purple clouds that appeared as if they were real clouds. Is this the Violet Cloud Palace? It's so majestic. Lin Xian was extremely amazed. This was because he knew that the Violet Cloud Palace was made of Violet Cloud Cold Iron. Its value could be said to be priceless. The Gu family was really generous. They were willing to use such precious metal to build such a huge city. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. The clan of the ancients is really rich. What a waste. This is not a waste, Lu Mingyue said calmly. After all these years of business, the Gu family had already recouped their capital, and they had made a lot of money. You'll know this when you enter the Violet Cloud Palace. Chapter 1821. What? It's actually breaking even. Lin Xian was shocked. He knew the price of the purple cloud cold steel. The amount of purple cloud cold steel needed to build such a huge palace was shocking. Perhaps only the clan of the ancients could afford it. The closer they got to the purple cloud palace, the more they could feel its magnificent aura. When Lin Xian was enveloped by the multicolored light, he felt a warm feeling in his body. In front of them, there were two huge purple doors, like two door gods. They were filled with a magnificent aura. At the entrance, there was an endless stream of people coming and going. After Lu Mingyue's brief introduction, Lin Xian knew that the expenses here were shocking. Even a casual meal was probably not something an ordinary King Realm expert could afford. One would have to spend a lot of money to be able to afford it. If one wanted to have a good meal, Even the smaller sects would not be able to afford it. One would have to be extremely wealthy to be able to afford it. Of course, as long as one had money and resources, one would not have to worry about not being able to find what one wanted here. Natural treasures, cultivation techniques, divine weapons, peerless beauties. As long as you have money and divine gems, you can get it all here. When Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue arrived at the entrance of the palace, they could even see the splendor and extravagance of the palace inside. It was indeed a paradise on earth. However, ordinary people would not be able to afford it, Lin Xian said as he strode forward. There were some guards at the entrance, all of whom were at the king level. Their main task was to collect the entrance fee, 500 divine gems per person. Just the entrance fee alone was enough to make the Gu clan a huge profit. This amount of divine gems was nothing to Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue. Therefore, the two of them paid it easily. After entering the palace, Lin Xian exclaimed in surprise. This was because he realized that this place was even more spacious than he had imagined. He could not see the end of it. This was a real palace. It was truly majestic and luxurious. The ones he had seen before were too small. The entire palace was divided into many areas. High up in the sky, there were stars that were refined from extremely precious crystals. There were even some flying beasts flying in the sky, adding to the celestial aura. In the distance, there were mountains and rivers, as well as a few spiritual springs that emitted tinkling sounds. How was this a hall? This was clearly a paradise on earth. On the other side, there was singing and dancing. There were even two peerless beauties in blue and red who were playing the zither. The sound of the zither was melodious and pleasing to the ear. It could even stir up the spiritual energy in one's body. Even further away, there were sounds of intense collisions. Blade lights and sword shadows were incomparably intense. Clearly, there were people fighting. That was not a place to cause trouble or break the rules. Instead, it was a place specially opened up for cultivators to fight. It could be said that the entire hall had everything that one could wish for. It was definitely a money-squandering den. How about it? Do you want to find two beauties to accompany you? Lu Mingyue asked indifferently. It's enough to have you by my side. What's wrong? Is there a beauty more beautiful than you here? Lin Xian laughed. At the same time, his eyes swept over Lu Mingyue's body. Feeling Lin Xian's gaze, Lu Mingyue's body tensed up. At the same time, she snorted coldly and did not reply. After a while, she said coldly, "Let's go. However, I have to remind you that I might fight with someone later. I've been so angry these past few days. If I don't vent my anger, I'm afraid it will affect my martial heart." As she spoke, there was a trace of biting cold killing intent in her voice. Indeed, ever since she was captured by Lin Xian in the Tilted Moon mystic world and treated as a maid, Lu Mingyue had been mad with anger. Especially after coming out, she was even more desperate. Originally, she thought that she could obtain the protection of the sect. However, she did not expect that even the sect wanted to kill her. Therefore, over the past few days, her heart was filled with a lot of killing intent. Now that there was a battle area, she was afraid that when the time came, she would have to find some people to fight to vent her anger. That's up to you. Even if you turn this place upside down, I won't care. Of course, the prerequisite is that you don't get recognized. Otherwise, if someone catches you and takes you back to the All Beginnings Holy Land, it won't be fun anymore. Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders. Then, he spent a large amount of money to buy some exquisite food. Then, he arrived at an open space and sat down cross-legged. As he drank, he enjoyed the singing and dancing as well as the beautiful zither music. The area he chose was very good. Not only could he see the singing and dancing, he could also see the intense battle on the other side. However, the only downside was that the price was too high. Even Lin Xian felt a bit of heartache. As for Lu Mingyue, she simply sat there and did not pay attention to the singing and dancing. Her gaze was completely focused on the battle area. The battle area was very vast. Furthermore, it was supported by a spirit formation. It was large enough for king-level experts to fight there. Furthermore, it would not affect others. Only the Purple Cloud Palace dared to do such a thing. If it were any other place, the entire city would have been destroyed long ago. Lu Mingyue was finally unable to bear it anymore. She spent a large amount of money to purchase the right to participate in the battle. Then, she stepped onto the stage. Oh my, it's actually a beauty. When the surrounding warriors saw this scene, they all cheered excitedly. Many of them even laughed, attracting the attention of those around them. That was because it was not that women could not become powerhouses. It was just that those who fought here were generally battle maniacs. Most of them were men. Moreover, the fact that a woman stepped onto the stage naturally made them even more excited. From the looks of it, she's a beauty. Her figure is very perfect. It's a pity that she's wearing a mask on her face. I can't see clearly. Trust me, this kind of woman must be of the highest quality. Brothers, hurry up and attack. If you can conquer her with force, she might follow you home wholeheartedly. Laughter could be heard. Clearly, many people had their eyes on Lu Mingyue. I'll do it. With a long howl, a man in a black short-sleeved shirt stepped onto the stage. This person looked a little wretched. As soon as he stepped onto the stage, his triangular eyes stared at Lu Mingyue's body and kept scanning her. Humph. Feeling the other party's wretched gaze, Lu Mingyue snorted coldly. She was already furious and wanted to vent her anger. Now that there was someone who was blind and dared to hit the muzzle of her gun, she could not be blamed for it. Boom. She waved her jade-like palm, and a terrifying light turned into a huge jade palm that fiercely blasted forward. Boom. An earth-shattering collision sounded, and the wretched man was directly sent flying. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They could not believe it. To be honest, although they were interested in Lu Mingyue, and many of them even had designs on her. However, these people thought that Lu Mingyue's strength was not strong at all. Any one of them would be able to defeat her. But now, they realized that they were wrong. Very wrong. Chapter 1822. Her opponent's palm strike was simply too powerful. It had actually sent the black-clothed man flying with ease. One must know that the black-clothed man was a 5-star king. What kind of strength did she possess to be able to send a 5-star king flying with a single punch? Perhaps only a 6-star king would be able to accomplish such a feat for a time. Many people shut their mouths. That was because their strength was comparable to that black-clothed man's. In fact, they were even weaker than him. Originally, they had dared to tease Lu Mingyue because they believed that she was weak. But now, her opponent was so powerful that they didn't dare to do it again. If they were targeted by her, they wouldn't be able to escape, nor would they be able to resist. Therefore, the surroundings became much quieter. However, more and more people were spectating. They all wanted to see exactly how powerful Lu Mingyue was. She's a fierce person. I wonder where such a beautiful, strong woman came from. I really want to see her face under the mask. I wonder who will be able to lift the mask and let us feast our eyes. Haha, her strength is pretty good. Beauty, come home with me. I guarantee that you'll enjoy a lifetime of happiness. Another loud laughter was heard. Hearing this, the crowd turned their heads one after another, trying to find the person who had spoken. The person who dared to say such arrogant words was definitely very powerful. He was at least a 6-star king. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to say such words. Sure enough, in the next instant, they locked onto a person. It was a man in his 30s. He had a tall and sturdy build. Although his appearance was ordinary, his eyes were emitting resplendent light. Moreover, what shocked the crowd even more was that his cultivation had reached the level of a 6-star king. Expert. He's definitely an expert. The crowd cried out in alarm. The king before them was much stronger than the black-clothed man from before. As for Lin Xian, who was watching the battle from afar, he shook his head slightly. He knew how powerful Lu Mingyue was. She was extremely powerful and wasn't much weaker than him. More importantly, she was currently in a fit of anger. She probably wouldn't show any mercy when she attacked. Even a 6-star king wouldn't be able to block her furious attack. Sure enough, when Lu Mingyue heard the laughter, she immediately frowned and coldly said, "You speak too much nonsense." After saying that, she directly attacked. Lu Mingyue didn't use her primal chaos chi or primal chaos light. In fact, she didn't even use any of the martial techniques of the All Beginnings Holy Land. She didn't want others to recognize her. Although she did not use any primal chaos martial arts, as an outstanding genius disciple, she had many cultivation techniques. Many of them were mysterious skills that he had obtained from the ancient ruins. Now that he had unleashed them, their might was incomparably terrifying. Lu Mingyue quickly formed a seal with her jade-like hands, forming a blue bell in front of her. Then, she shook it quickly. Clang, clang. A crisp sound rang out, and blue ripples surged out from the bell like waves of the sea. It spread out in all directions. Pung pung pung. The terrifying sound waves pierced through the void. Even though everyone was in a safe place, they still felt a chill run down their spines. What? To be honest, that six-star king realm expert's expression also changed. Because this blue bell was really too strange, it made him feel a sense of trepidation. Wong. The blue sound wave was extremely terrifying, and it instantly arrived before the six-star king realm expert. The six-star king snorted coldly. Although he was shocked by the blue sound waves, he couldn't run away. As a six-star king, he had his own pride. In the next moment, he stretched out both his palms, and a dazzling light formed a purple shield in front of him. The purple shield was as big as a house, and light constantly flowed on it, emitting bursts of purple light to block the blue sound wave. Boom, boom, boom. A violent collision sound rang out as the purple shield and the blue sound wave collided. Instantly, a huge explosion occurred in the void. Countless waves of air rolled like waves, crashing in all directions. The entire area was also covered in a dazzling light. Poof! Crack! Crack! The purple light shield shattered in an instant. It was cut into pieces by the blue sound wave. Not only that, but the blue sound wave also blasted the six-star king realm expert, causing him to vomit blood and fly backward. Even a six-star king realm expert was defeated? Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief, because this was simply too unbelievable. Who exactly is that person? How can she be so powerful? Even a six-star king realm expert is no match for her. Moreover, she looks very young, which makes them even more suspicious. Could she be a genius disciple of some sacred ground? Thinking of this, everyone discussed spiritedly, trying to find out Lu Mingyue's identity. However, they couldn't figure it out at all. Oh, not bad. Looks like she's a little chilly. I like her. At this moment, another sneer was heard. In the distance, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. It seemed that another ignorant person was about to make a move. How could there be so many people in the world who were so full of themselves? The crowd dispersed, and a young man in his mid-20s walked out. He was wearing a white robe, and he looked quite dashing. However, he was very arrogant when he called Lu Mingyue a lord. Little girl, I'll play with you. However, do you dare to make a bet with me? If you lose, you'll be my woman obediently. You're courting death. Lu Mingyue shouted as a cold light appeared in her eyes. In the next moment, she quickly attacked. The blue bell in front of her bloomed with light, forming blue ripples that rushed forward. You're really hot-tempered. However, I like this kind of person. The young man in white laughed loudly. Then, he pulled out a long saber and slashed forward. Buzz! With a slash of the saber, a dazzling saber ray descended from the sky like a waterfall. It even lit up the entire sky. Boom! At that moment, the cold blade sliced through the blue ripples and even slammed into the bell, splitting it apart. He actually succeeded. This young man is an expert. When the crowd saw this scene, they exclaimed in surprise. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He did not expect that there would be someone who could compete with Lu Mingyue. It seemed that the North region was indeed full of outstanding people. This young man should be from the Liang family. He's from the Liang family. No wonder he's so powerful. Yes, although the Liang family is not a clan of the ancients, it's still an extremely large family in the North region. Their status is not inferior to that of the great sections. Discussions broke out. Obviously, the Liang family was also one of the top forces in the North region. Haha, little girl, did you hear that? I'm a genius disciple of the Liang family. Come back with me, and I guarantee that you'll enjoy a lifetime of glory and wealth. Noisy. Lu Mingyue snorted coldly and attacked again. She waved her jade-like hand, and immediately, a dazzling red light surged from her body. A terrifying palm shadow shot out, accompanied by a red phoenix that descended from the sky. For a moment, the red light covered the sky and swept in all directions. The phoenix was born from fire. Chapter 1823. Seeing this scene, the surrounding warriors' expressions changed because they realized that the other party's strength had increased again. Compared to the blue bell from before, it was much stronger. Could it be that this girl was hiding her strength before? Everyone was shocked and did not dare to imagine. Even the white-clothed young man was stunned. He naturally felt the change in the energy, and his expression immediately became extremely solemn. The long saber flashed and turned into a stream of light that slashed forward. A terrifying light spread out in all directions. Boom! In the next moment, the red phoenix collided with the saber light that filled the sky. An intense collision occurred, and the energy spread out in all directions. Instantly, the array was activated and formed a light screen that protected the surroundings. Lin Xian was watching the battle from afar. When he saw this scene, he gently nodded his head. It seemed that this white-clothed youth was indeed not weak. He was also an extremely powerful existence among the six-star kings. Liang family, Lin Xian muttered. It was obvious that this was a powerful family. Otherwise, there would not be such a genius disciple like the white-clothed youth. However, although he was surprised, Lin Xian was not worried at all. This was because he knew Lu Mingyue's strength. A battle of this level would not be able to defeat Lu Mingyue. As expected, the flaming phoenix and the saber light collided in the air and disappeared together. However, at this moment, a bright light appeared in Lu Mingyue's palm again. It was like a divine rainbow that shone in all directions. This was a long sword. It was as red as the sun and emitted powerful energy. As soon as it appeared, the entire void trembled violently. Whoosh! With a swing of the sword, a terrifying sword light soared into the sky and slashed forward ruthlessly. Pong! The white-clothed youth's expression changed drastically. He kept swinging his snow-white saber and quickly counterattacked. The saber light did not stop, and it carried an extremely cold aura. Even the surrounding space was covered in blue frost. There were still snowflakes floating in the sky. On one side was fire, and on the other side was ice. The two opposing forces collided in the air. Little girl, your strength has exceeded my expectations. But do you think you can defeat me like this? You're too naive. Come home with me obediently. The white-clothed youth sneered. The surrounding blue light burst forth, and an endless cold aura spread out. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were cold. His entire being was like an icy war monarch, emitting a powerful aura. The long saber in his hand swept out. You're courting death. Don't blame me. Lu Mingyue's expression was ice-cold. She was already furious to begin with. Now that the other party was provoking her again and again, it made her even angrier. Therefore, in the next moment, a trace of killing intent appeared in her eyes. She displayed a powerful martial art, preparing to get rid of the person in front of her. Kill! Lu Mingyue shouted. Her expression was unusually cold and murderous. In the next moment, she waved her jade-like hands and the energy in her body continued to accumulate. Then, a fiery red half-moon light formed above her head. Vacuum scarlet moon slash. With a wave of her jade-like hand, a red arc was drawn. That half-moon arc was like a full moon, directly tearing apart the void. Boom! The saber light that filled the sky was torn apart in an instant. The terrifying red light enveloped the surroundings and instantly hit the white-robed youth. Puff! The white-clothed youth widened his eyes in disbelief because his body had been cut in half. Impossible! I'm a genius! He opened his mouth wide and struggled madly, but blood continued to gush out. He did not believe that anyone could kill him. How dare the other party kill him? Wasn't the other party afraid of the Liang family's revenge? Plop. The white-clothed youth fell to the ground, his blood staining the ground red. As for the red half-moon, it quickly disappeared from the sky. Killed. The young master of the Liang family was killed. The crowd was shocked and could not believe it. One should know that the white-clothed youth was a disciple of the Liang family. Moreover, judging by his strength, he was definitely a genius disciple. Such a person was highly valued in the Liang family, but now he was killed. The Liang family would definitely be furious. Moreover, the Liang family was the top force in the North region. They would definitely not let this go. Sure enough, when they saw this scene, two middle-aged men immediately rushed over. They came to the front and took away the white-clothed youth's body. Then, they stared at Lu Mingyue. Damn demoness, how dare you kill our young master? You're dead meat. Just you wait, the Liang family will definitely not let you off. Other than the two of them, there were two other figures who left quickly. It seemed that they should have reported to the Liang family and called for reinforcements. Humph. He only has himself to blame. Lu Mingyue snorted coldly. After killing the white-clothed youth, the resentment and killing intent in her was obviously released. On the other hand, Lin Xian frowned slightly. He did not expect Lu Mingyue to kill the other party directly. This surprised him a little. One should know that when he came previously, the other party repeatedly warned him to try not to cause trouble. But now, before he did anything, the other party killed the person herself. Sigh, how much resentment did this chick accumulate? Lin Xian shook his head slightly. Since the person was already killed, he could not say anything more. He could only wait for the right time to react. If worst came to worst, he could wait until he got the Khanate Purple Thunderstone and leave the North region completely. No matter how powerful the Liang family was, they could not have such great power. Humph. Who else? In front, Lu Mingyue looked around and said coldly. Although she had released most of her killing intent, she had not released all of it. She had to fight a few more rounds to get rid of the resentment in her heart. Only then could she be free and clear. Chick, you've got guts. You even dare to kill the Liang family. Someone like you is worthy of my attack. At this moment, a deep voice sounded. What? Someone actually attacked. The surrounding people exclaimed in disbelief. One should know that even the Liang family's genius was killed. One could imagine Lu Mingyue's strength. But even so, someone still attacked. Who is it? Why is he so confident? In the next moment, everyone looked over. Even Lin Xian turned his head curiously. Soon, a smile appeared on his face. In front of him, a burly youth walked out from the crowd. He was tall like a god of war. His entire body was filled with explosive power. People from the Four Symbols Sacred Grounds. Many people exclaimed. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He did not expect to meet people from the Four Symbols Sacred Grounds here. But then, he heard the surrounding discussion and understood. It turned out that the headquarters of the Four Symbols Sacred Grounds was also in the North region. Lin Xian greeted the Four Symbols Sacred Grounds many times. Previously, in the Tilted Moon Mystic World, he killed the genius martial artist Ouyangfeng of the Four Symbols Sacred Grounds. He did not expect to meet people from the Four Symbols Sacred Grounds now. Lu Mingyue coldly snorted. Don't think that you're so great just because you're strong. There's a technique in the world called using softness to overcome hardness. Using softness to conquer strength. The surrounding martial artists were visibly moved. It was easy to say, and they understood the logic as well. However, it was really too difficult to do. That was because the strength of the Four Symbols Holy Land's martial artists was extraordinarily terrifying. The usual method of using softness to overcome strength was completely ineffective. He had to use an extremely mysterious secret technique to neutralize this unusual ferocity. It was clear that Lu Mingyue had grasped this feminine power. What do you mean by using softness to conquer strength? Today, I will let you know my true strength. The genius martial artist from the Four Symbols Holy Grounds, Han Shanren, snorted coldly. Light blossomed from his body as a pair of golden gloves appeared on his fists. The resplendent brilliance illuminated the entire space. Earth-rank artifact. When the crowd saw the shiny golden gloves, they all exclaimed. That was because the youth's strength was already very strong. With the addition of the Earth-rank artifact gloves, his strength would probably increase greatly. It would reach an unimaginable level. Earth-rank artifact? Lu Mingyue's voice was cold. She then snorted softly. I have one too. Wong. A set of silver-white battle armor appeared from her body. The silver-white light shone in the void, completely covering her exquisite figure. Not only that, but a long silver whip also appeared in his hand. It was like a silver snake that was unusually agile. It's useless. Stop struggling and obediently return with me. Han Shanren grinned maliciously. He then stomped his foot and turned into a bolt of lightning, leaving a series of afterimages in the air as he charged over. His speed was very fast and formed a terrifying explosion that caused the entire void to quickly split open. Boom! He punched out and a golden light shone in the void, completely enveloping Lu Mingyue. Lu Mingyue's eyes turned cold. The silver whip in her hand immediately turned into a silver spear that pierced into the void. Puff! The silver light rushed out like a silver dragon and pierced through the golden light. Then, Lu Mingyue escaped from the golden fist. In the next moment, she waved her long whip and it turned into a sky full of silver light that shrouded the area in front of her. Boom, boom, boom. A violent collision sounded. Then, the silver light collided with Yu Man's fist shadow, causing a huge explosion. The entire void was instantly torn open. The momentum was extremely terrifying. The surrounding kings all looked quite shocked because this power made their hearts tremble. Boom! Another loud noise. Countless cracks appeared on the golden light in the sky. The silver light passed through the cracks and fiercely hit Han Shanren. Puff! 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 Blood spurted out. Han Shanren roared and retreated quickly. What happened? When the surrounding warriors saw this scene, they were all shocked and looked forward. In the next moment, they gasped, because Han Shanren's clothes were torn and his arms were covered with bloody scars. There were still remnants of silver light on his arms. It was obvious that he had been injured by the whip just now. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Then, they stared at Lu Mingyue in disbelief. Who exactly is this woman? Isn't she too strong? She can injure Han Shan so easily? I'm not dreaming, am I? Exclamations came one after another. Everyone was stunned by this scene. Lin Xian looked calm because this was similar to what he had expected. In front, Han Shan's face was abnormally gloomy. He gritted his teeth and a fierce killing intent burst out from his eyes. But in the end, he resisted and did not make a move. That was because the previous whip had given him too much shock. Until now, he still felt a lingering fear in his heart. If the other party's strength had been just a little bit stronger, then his arms would have been crippled by now. And until now, he had no way to deal with that soft silver whip. Therefore, this battle could not be continued. Girl, I'll remember you. What's your name? Han Shan gritted his teeth and asked. Lu Mingyue said coldly, losers have no right to know my name. Humph. Hearing this, Han Shan's face darkened. He snorted coldly and turned to leave. Chapter 1825. To be honest, he was too ashamed to stay here. The crowd automatically opened up a path for Han Shan to leave. Then, they quickly gathered around and looked at Lu Mingyue with excitement. This woman is too powerful. I wonder which force she's from? Why do I feel like she's already at the Saintess level? It's not that exaggerated. Have you seen a real Saintess? That's too terrifying. I think she's at most a reserve Saintess level. Maybe, but she's too powerful. I wonder if anyone can suppress her? Everyone discussed. However, at that moment, a cold shout came from afar. Who is it? How dare you kill a disciple of the Liang family? Get over here and die. Hearing that voice, everyone's hearts raced and they all turned to look. Behind them, a group of people fiercely walked over. That's the Liang family. They're here for revenge. That woman is in trouble. I wonder if she can withstand the Liang family's anger? It's hard to say. It depends on who the Liang family sends. If it's an ordinary warrior, he might not be able to threaten that woman. But if the Liang family's young masters come, that woman will be in danger. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and looked into the distance. Then, he frowned, because he felt a few powerful auras in the crowd. They seemed to be approaching Lu Mingyue. If those people attacked together, Lu Mingyue would not be able to resist. After all, no matter how powerful she was, she would not be able to withstand the attacks of so many powerhouses. When the time came, he would have to help. However, he quickly realized that there was no need to worry about that, because he learned from others that this place could not be bullied by numbers. Only one-on-one battles were allowed. If someone forced themselves to cause trouble here, they would be killed by the Purple Cloud Palace's enforcers. Even a force like the Liang family did not dare to act rashly. However, if they left the Purple Cloud Palace, even if they fought fiercely, the Purple Cloud Palace would not care. After learning of this rule, Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. From the looks of it, Lu Mingyue was not in too much danger. Lu Mingyue looked at the group of people and her eyes flashed. A cold light appeared on her body. She did not expect the Liang family to come so soon. However, she was not afraid at all. After all, the other party was the one who provoked her first. On the other side, the Liang family was indeed incomparably furious. When they learned that their genius disciple had been killed, they were all stunned, because they didn't believe that someone would dare make a move against their Liang clan. Therefore, very quickly, all the warriors in the Purple Cloud City rushed over. They wanted to kill the murderer for revenge. As for the surrounding warriors, they quickly dispersed and made way for a large open space. They didn't dare to offend the Liang family. Whoosh! He would let everyone know that the Liang clan was not to be provoked. On the opposite side, the silver armor on Lu Mingyue's body flashed, forming balls of silver light that rushed out of her body and condensed in front of her. Clang! In the next moment, the sword chi slashed on the silver light and caused a violent tremor. However, the silver light blocked the sword in the end. The energy rolled and swept in all directions. A terrifying aura spread out like a tide. Fortunately, there was a defensive array here. Otherwise, the energy shockwave would be enough to destroy the entire hall. Humph! The fourth young master of the Liang clan? That's all there is to it. Lu Mingyue sneered. You're courting death. The fourth young master of the Liang clan was furious. As the fourth young master of the Liang clan, he was powerful and had never been looked down upon. In the next moment, a terrifying aura rose from his body and countless rays of light scattered in all directions. Rays of sword chi rushed out like rainbows and swept toward Lu Mingyue. The long sword was extremely sharp and emitted a terrifying murderous aura that chilled one to the bone. Kill! With a roar, the fourth young master of the Liang clan was unstoppable. What a terrifying sword technique! When the surrounding people saw this scene, they all exclaimed. On the other hand, Lin Xian was drinking while watching the battle. The sword technique was indeed not bad. No wonder he was so arrogant. However, no matter how strong the fourth young master of the Liang clan was, he was still weaker than Lu Mingyue. Therefore, Lin Xian was not worried. What he was really paying attention to was the few elders of the Liang clan. Chapter 1826. However, no matter how strong fourth young master Liang was, he was still weaker than Lu Mingyue. Therefore, Lin Xian was not worried. What he really paid attention to was the few elders from the Liang family. He could feel that their auras were too strong. If those people attacked, Lu Mingyue would not be able to handle it. In front of him, Lu Mingyue waved the silver whip in her hand and swept it forward. Clang! 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 The two terrifying attacks collided in the air and made earth-shattering sounds. At the same time, blue ice needles appeared in Lu Mingyue's left hand. They were extremely cold and pierced forward. This was an assassination technique that was extremely terrifying. In an instant, it appeared in front of fourth young Master Liang. The 3 blue silver needles pierced toward 4th young Master Liang's 3 vital points. If he was hit, even if he was a 6-star king, he would be severely injured. Get lost. 4th young Master Liang roared. His eyes flashed coldly as a terrifying energy erupted from his body and swept around. The entire space trembled. Buzz. A terrifying sword chi rushed out from his body and quickly blocked the 3 terrifying ice needles. Not only that, but he also charged toward Lu Mingyue at high speed. His speed was so fast that many of the kings around could not even see him clearly. Buzz. A sharp sword light slashed toward Lu Mingyue. As for Lu Mingyue, she quickly retreated like a feather, incomparably agile. Seeing that his attack did not hit, 4th young Master Liang sneered and pointed his sword forward. Little girl, I have to say that your strength is indeed beyond my expectations. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant and kill people from the Liang family. However, this bit of strength of yours is simply not enough to look at in front of me. Therefore, I advise you to surrender obediently. As he spoke, 4th young Master Liang's expression was cold. A vast energy burst out of his body. At this moment, 4th young Master Liang was like a god of war. He was extremely terrifying. His aura was like a mountain that pressed down on everyone's hearts, making it hard for them to breathe. Lu Mingyue's beautiful face changed. However, no one could see it because she was wearing a mask. Soon, she regained her composure. The 4th young master of the Liang family is indeed powerful. However, it's a pity that you are not my match. If your 1st young master came, he might be able to fight with me. But you are not qualified at all. Hearing this, everyone was shocked, while 4th young Master Liang's face darkened completely. The eldest young master that the other party spoke of was their Liang clan's #1 genius. His strength was incomparably terrifying, and he was even comparable to those saints and saintesses. And now, they were actually boasting shamelessly that only their big brother would be able to fight against them. And he, the 4th young Master Liang, was not qualified at all. This kind of disregard made 4th young Master Liang extremely angry. Wong. A cold light sword quickly slashed down, and the cold sword light soared into the sky. This sword was extremely sharp, and it slashed towards Lu Mingyue. Lu Mingyue let out a delicate cry. The silver armor on her body shone brightly, forming rays of silver light that circled around her. At this moment, she was like a fairy that had descended to the mortal world, carrying with her incomparable holiness and coldness. She waved her jade-like hands, forming a dazzling light wave that turned into a misty light palm that slammed forward. This energy seemed weak, but it was filled with killing intent. Soon it collided with the cold sword light. Pong! The two collided, and the sound was very low, as if a rusty iron sword had collided in the air. Numerous cracks rapidly appeared on the terrifying, chilling light sword ripple before it exploded with a loud bang. Using softness to overcome strength again. Lu Mingyue had used this technique to the acme of perfection, and she easily neutralized the terrifying sword light. Not only that, the water-like light palm quickly attacked 4th young Master Liang. Poof! 4th young Master Liang's body was like a ghost, and he kept dodging, but in the end, he was still hit by the palm. Immediately, his body kept retreating. His face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This palm was extremely soft, and it caused him internal injuries. 4th young Master Liang was furious. His eyes were cold as he stared at Lu Mingyue. To be honest, he was too shocked. This was because he did not expect that the other party's technique was so strange that it could hurt him. The surrounding martial artists were also in an uproar. Using softness to overcome strength again. She had practiced this technique to such a level. Where did this woman come from? She's too strong. Even 4th young Master Liang is no match for her? Looks like she really has the combat power of a saintess. Yeah, 4th young Master Liang is no match for her. I'm afraid that even the 3rd or 2nd young master might not be a match for this woman. Maybe only the eldest young master of the Liang family can fight against this mysterious woman. Indeed, the eldest young master of the Liang family was extremely strong. It was said that he already had the combat power of a saint. If he were to fight, there would be no mistakes. In an instant, the surrounding martial artists were discussing. It was obvious. The eldest young master of the Liang family was very strong, and the surrounding martial artists agreed with him. At this moment, a martial artist continued, "Indeed, although the saints and saintesses are the peak of the younger generation in the eastern wilderness. But other than the peerless sacred grounds, the great sects, and the clans of the ancients, there are a few other young people whose combat power has reached the peak. The eldest young master of the Liang family should be one of them." "No, I don't think so. I think this mysterious woman should also have the combat power of a saintess." Hearing this, the crowd nodded slightly. Lu Mingyue had defeated powerful opponents one after another, and she had displayed unparalleled strength. Therefore, the crowd classified her as a peak combat power. Have you guys heard? In the eastern wilderness eastern region, there's a youth called Lin Xian. He seems to be very strong. Indeed, it's rumored that he's being hunted down by the wavering light Holy Land. But he's still able to get away with it. Not only that, I've also heard that Lin Xian displayed extremely strong combat power in the oblique moon mystic world. He's not even weaker than the wavering light Holy Sun. What? He can stand shoulder to shoulder with the wavering light Holy Sun? Could it be that he also has the combat power of a saint? Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists were in an uproar. However, someone in the crowd sneered. "What saint? That brat isn't that powerful." "Not that powerful? Impossible. I've heard that he captured a genius disciple of the All Beginnings Holy Land and even forced the All Beginnings Holy Land to change the candidate for saintess. It's not that exaggerated. That brat must have used some despicable method. Moreover, his cultivation isn't high. He's only a 4-star king. How can such a person stand shoulder to shoulder with the wavering light Holy Sun? Indeed, it's just a rumor. It's all exaggerated. His true combat power is definitely weak." At the side, a martial artist from the Four Symbols Holy Land sneered, "If that brat surnamed Lin dares to come out, I'll slap him to death." Chapter 1827. The crowd was discussing. Clearly, they had only heard rumors about Lin Xian's combat strength, and most of them did not believe it. However, they did not know that the person they were talking about, Lin Xian, was right beside them at this moment. However, Lin Xian had used a disguise technique, so no one noticed. Lu Mingyue's expression was gloomy, and her aura was very unstable. It turned into a terrifying murderous aura that shot into the sky. That was because the surrounding people were not only talking about Lin Xian, but they were also talking about her. Every time she thought about how she had been captured by Lin Xian and lost her qualifications as saintess, Lu Mingyue felt a burst of madness. Therefore, in the next moment, she screamed, and her aura suddenly erupted. The silver whip exploded with an unparalleled light, like a silver dragon that shot out. Boom! The silver figure crashed into fourth young Master Liang and sent him flying once again. This time, fourth young Master Liang's injuries were even more serious. "Fourth young Master! Young Master!" Exclamations came one after another. The Liang family warriors at the back exclaimed. They were extremely shocked when they saw this scene. They did not expect their fourth young master to be defeated. Moreover, he had been defeated in a very embarrassing manner. This was completely different from what they had expected. "Demoness, you are too despicable. How dare you injure our fourth young master? Don't think that you can get away with it here. Just you wait. Once you leave Purple Cloud Palace, my Liang family will not let you off. Come out and fight to the death if you dare." The Liang family warriors roared crazily. They even sent out a few warriors to rescue fourth young Master Liang. Fourth young Master Liang's face was pale, and his expression was unusually ugly. He could not believe that he had been defeated just like that. He stared at Lu Mingyue and said in a ferocious voice, "Damn it, who are you?" He was not willing to lose to a woman who was not famous. Lu Mingyue snorted coldly and ignored him. In response to the Liang family's clamor, she only said coldly, "Come and fight if you dare. If you don't, shut your mouths. Don't make a fuss here. It's embarrassing." Mad, The Liang family's martial artists were really mad. As an enormous force in the northern region, they had always been high and mighty, looking down on everyone. But now, they were being scolded by a woman, and they didn't even dare to fight back. This was too humiliating. Where did this little girl come from? How dare she be so arrogant and look down on my Liang clan? At this moment, a dignified voice sounded. Then, a huge pressure shrouded the void like 100,000 mountains, suffocating everyone. Pung pung pung. Everyone was shocked and their scalps went numb because they realized that this aura was too terrifying. It was much stronger than the fourth young master Liang from before. An expert. He was definitely a super expert. Unexpectedly, another expert from the Liang family actually came. In the distance, Lin Xian also put down his wine cup. The smile on his face disappeared and was replaced by a grave expression. The reason for that was because he was able to sense how powerful that person was. This aura was too strong, too strong. It was definitely not something an ordinary person could emit. The other party was definitely a powerhouse. Lu Mingyue's expression was grave as well. Her eyes flickered as she looked ahead. In the next moment, the crowd automatically dispersed, and a stalwart figure strode over. Along with him was a dignified aura. It was as deep as the sea and incomparably terrifying. This aura was too powerful. It was like 100,000 mountains that could crush the heavens. What? It's him. Fear appeared in everyone's eyes. Who is that? Why haven't I seen him before? However, even more people were puzzled because they had never seen that figure before. It was a middle-aged man in a green robe. He had a dignified aura. He was like an emperor with a powerful aura. You don't even know who he is? Do you know the eldest young master of the Liang clan? Someone quickly said. What? You said he's the eldest young master of the Liang clan? The others widened their eyes. What kind of joke is this? How can the eldest young master of the Liang clan be a middle-aged man? Could it be that his age is already so old? No one believed it because it was different from the legends. Could he still be called the younger generation at this age? However, someone said coldly, "What are you panicking for? I'm not done yet." He's not the eldest young master of the Liang clan. He's the master of the burning eldest young master. What? The master of the Liang clan's eldest young master. Everyone was even more shocked, and there was even fear in their eyes. The master of the Liang clan's eldest young master. Wasn't that an almighty? An almighty was going to deal with a little girl? Everyone was in an uproar. Hearing that, Lu Mingyue was also extremely nervous. She did not expect an almighty to attack her. However, the person who explained in the crowd twitched his mouth and was speechless. Heavens, I'm not done yet. Can you guys not be so agitated? Not done yet. Everyone was stunned. What is his identity? Hurry up and tell us. The surrounding people quickly asked. He is indeed the master of the Liang clan's eldest young master, but he's not an almighty. This time, the person who explained quickly said, the Liang clan's eldest young master's talent was average when he was young. It was only in recent years that he improved by leaps and bounds and became the #1 expert of the Liang clan's younger generation. So before this, his master was not an almighty, but the middle-aged man in front. So that was the case. There was actually such a thing. Everyone came to a realization. They knew that the Liang clan's eldest young master was not ranked by age, but by strength. However, they did not expect the Liang clan's eldest young master to have such an encounter before. However, even if it was his former master, he was definitely an extremely powerful figure. Because everyone could feel from the aura that the other party was emitting that he was definitely an extremely terrifying expert. This powerful middle-aged man strode into the battle area. Immediately, the Liang clan's warriors shouted, "Elder!" Agitated. They were really too agitated. Because previously, the other party had suppressed the Liang clan until they could not raise their heads. This was intolerable. They even felt like fighting with their lives on the line. However, what made them even more desperate was that their fourth young master had been defeated. Even if there were experts among them, they would only be on par with the fourth young master. Unless the other young masters came, There was no chance of winning. Now, although the other young masters did not come, the eldest young master's former master, Elder Liang, had finally come. Although Elder Liang was not an almighty, he was extremely terrifying. His strength had already surpassed the fourth young master. Even the Liang clan's second young master might not be his match. Elder Liang nodded slightly, then looked forward and stared at Lu Mingyue. Lu Mingyue's body tensed up, and the silver armor on her body shone brightly. At the same time, she looked extremely dignified. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.